My daughter caught me with one arm in my coat and the numbered claim tag between my teeth. Dad. The hallway outside the private dining room was narrow enough that she had to turn sideways around a waiter carrying coffee. For 1 second, she stood with her back pressed to the wall, smiling politely while he passed. Then the smile disappeared. I took the tag from my mouth. You need something? Emily looked toward the dining room. Everybody in there was applauding at a photograph of her and Luke on a beach 18 years ago. The sound came through the closed door soft and shapeless, like rain hitting a roof. She grabbed my sleeve. Dad, don't leave yet. She said it so quietly I almost answered too loudly. Her hand was cold, though the restaurant was warm enough to soften butter. I was just trying to make a clean exit, I know. That was what bothered me. She didn't ask why. She didn't say Luke would notice I was gone or that dessert was coming. She looked frightened, but not of anything that might happen to her. She looked frightened of what I might do when it did. Please, she said, I need you in the room. 3 days earlier, I hadn't known I was invited. Luke called at 7:20 on a Wednesday evening. I remember because I had both hands inside the control panel of my dishwasher and had just discovered that the leak I'd blamed on a hose was actually coming from a cracked pump housing. Cal, he said, with the hearty surprise of a man who had called me on purpose. What are you doing Friday? Buying a dishwasher part, apparently. He laughed harder than the remark deserved. Luke was generous with laughter when he wanted something. When he didn't, he could make a joke die just by looking at the person who told it. You remember Friday's our anniversary? I do. 18 years. Can you believe that? I could. I had been present for all of them. We're doing a little dinner at Bellini's, he said, back where the whole circus started. Bellini's was where Luke had proposed to Emily. It was also where he had forgotten his wallet that night and called me from the restroom. I'd driven 20 minutes with $80 folded inside a gas station receipt, so Emily wouldn't see me handing it over. Sounds nice, I said. We had a seat open up. Tom Haskell's got some kind of stomach thing, and Emily said, why don't we ask Dad? There are invitations that make you feel wanted, and invitations that inform you there is now sufficient room. At 68, I knew the difference. I also knew pretending not to know was sometimes the toll you paid to stay on the road. What time? 7. Private room, jacket, but nothing funeral. After we hung up, I sat on the kitchen floor beside the dishwasher. I could have called Emily and made her explain why her father had been behind Tom Haskell's digestive system on the guest list. Instead, I ordered the pump housing and ate a ham sandwich over the sink. That was my particular talent. People called it patience because cowardice sounds ugly in a birthday card. The next morning, I went into my garage and pulled down a narrow maple board I had been saving for no good reason. The board had come from the desk I built Emily when she was 11. Years later, when she moved out of my house, she decided the desk was too childish and asked me to cut it down into shelves. I kept the clean scraps because good wood shouldn't be punished for outliving its first purpose. I made a box with a sliding lid. Nothing fancy. Mitered corners, thin walnut splines, beeswax instead of varnish. The kind of work that looks simple if you did it right. Inside, I put 18 slips of paper. I didn't write the obvious memories. Their wedding already had an album thick enough to stop a door, and Luke could give a 40-minute account of their trip to Italy if nobody interrupted him. I wrote down smaller things. Year 2. You painted the kitchen yellow. Luke said it looked like mustard. Emily said mustard was cheerful. Year 5. You ruined Janet's Thanksgiving pie and laughed until you had to sit on the floor. Year 9. Luke waited outside the hospital through your entire overnight shift because the roads were iced over. Year 12. You danced in my driveway while waiting for the tow truck. Not all the memories made them look good. That was why I trusted them. A marriage that only survives in flattering photographs is already in trouble. Friday evening, I arrived at Bellini's at 6:55. The hostess led me past the main dining room, where people were leaning over red candles and pretending not to hear one another's conversations. Luke had reserved the Verona room, which sounded grander than it was. It had burgundy walls, 12-frame prints of vineyards, and no windows. Luke stood just inside the door, wearing a navy suit that fit him well enough to suggest he'd had help. There he is. He hugged me with one arm and kept the other hand free for the room. You remember Marcy and Phil? I did not, but Marcy said, "Of course he does," so I let her win. Emily was across the room talking to a woman from Luke's office. She wore a dark green dress and small gold earrings I recognized as Janet's. Her hair was pinned up loosely, and every few seconds she touched the back of it to make sure it was still there. When she saw me, her whole face changed. That sounds more romantic than it was. My daughter had several faces, same as everybody. The one she gave me was relief mixed with guilt, and I had seen it often enough to know I would be asked for something before the night was over. You came. You invited me. I know. She kissed my cheek. You look handsome. I look rented. She laughed and adjusted my tie. Then Luke appeared beside us. Cal cleans up surprisingly well, he said. So do accident scenes, I told him. Emily laughed again, but Luke's eyes moved to the box under my arm. What's that? An anniversary gift. You didn't have to do that. It's strange how often people say that when they mean they would rather you hadn't. Before I could give the box to Emily, a server rang a little brass bell and asked everyone to find their place cards. Mine was at the far end of the table between Phil, who sold commercial flooring, and a woman named Doreen who had once served on a charity committee with Luke. Emily and Luke sat together in the center beneath a banner that read, 18 years, still choosing each other. The banner had been professionally printed. I knew because my son, Ben, had texted me a picture that afternoon with the caption, Luke has discovered banners. Ben arrived late, slid into the chair across from me, and whispered, Did Tom Haskell die? Stomach thing. So you're the understudy. Apparently I know the role. Ben grinned, but it faded when he saw I wasn't joining him. He looked more like Janet than me, especially around the mouth. Emily had my eyes and my bad habit of going quiet just when something needed to be said. Ben filled silence because it made him nervous. Emily created it and then waited to see who would surrender first. You okay? He asked. I'm at a party eating free bread. That is not an answer. It's the answer you're getting. Dinner moved the way large dinners do, in little islands. Phil told me more about moisture-resistant flooring than I had known there was to learn. Doreen asked whether retirement was driving me crazy yet, and seemed disappointed when I said no. Across the table, Ben kept trying to include me in conversations that had already moved on. Emily barely ate. Every time a server placed something in front of her, Luke reached over and took a bite before she did. You still do that? Ben asked him. She never minds, Luke said. Emily looked at her plate. I mind selectively. Everybody laughed, including me. Her eyes lifted to mine, and I had the unpleasant feeling that I had just failed a test I hadn't known I was taking. Between the main course and dessert, Luke stood and tapped his knife against his glass. I promise to keep this short, he said, which got a bigger laugh than it should have. He thanked his business partners, his college roommate, Marcy and Phil, Doreen's charity committee, the restaurant manager, and a couple named Steve and Alicia, who had apparently once talked him and Emily through a difficult vacation in Asheville. He had a gift for turning a list of names into a story about himself. Marriage isn't two people staring into each other's eyes, he said. It's two people looking outward in the same direction. Emily's fingers tightened around her water glass. Luke put a hand on her shoulder. And nobody has looked in my direction more faithfully than this beautiful woman. That line received a soft, collective sigh. Emily smiled the way people smile when a camera catches them chewing. Then Luke thanked everyone who stood beside us from the beginning and raised his glass. He did not mention me. I told myself he didn't need to. I wasn't his father. I wasn't part of the marriage. I had only lent them my truck for 3 moves, repaired the furnace in their first house, driven Luke's mother to 2 medical appointments when they were both working, and spent 7 years being asked to interpret one spouse to the other. There are men who keep score because they plan to collect. I kept score and then felt ashamed for having counted. Emily glanced at me while everyone drank. I smiled. That was another mistake. After the toast, Ben noticed the maple box beside my chair. Is that for them? Supposed to be. He picked it up and whistled. You made this? Luke heard him and called down the table. What are you hiding from us, Cal? Ben passed the box toward the center before I could stop him. It traveled through 6 pairs of hands. By the time it reached Emily, 3 people had already tried the lid. She ran her thumb over the walnut splines. Dad. Open it, Doreen said, as if I had given the gift to her. Emily slid back the lid. Luke took out the first folded paper. Year 1, he read. You called me at midnight because the toilet wouldn't stop running. Luke fixed it with a shoelace and said not to tell Dad. He looked at me. You wrote 18 of these? One per year. Luke pulled out another. Year 5. You ruined Janet's Thanksgiving pie and laughed until you had to sit on the floor. He lowered his voice into a slow, creaky imitation of me. I remember joy. The table laughed. Emily reached for the paper. Give me that. Come on, this is adorable. Luke held it away and took another slip. Year 12. Luke. Something in her voice stopped him. For half a second, the room went still. Then he smiled and put the papers back. All right, private family archives. We'll donate them to a museum when Cal's gone. More laughter. Less this time. Emily closed the box and placed it under her chair. I waited until the lights dimmed for the slideshow. Then I stood, touched Ben's shoulder, and told him my back was bothering me. It was the kind of lie family members accept because correcting it would require care. In the hallway, with one arm in my coat, I heard the door open behind me. Dad, don't leave yet. I looked at Emily's hand gripping my sleeve, then at her face. What's about to happen? She swallowed. Something I should have done a long time ago. And you need me for it? I need you to hear me. I took my arm out of the coat. When we returned, Luke was standing at the head of the table, smiling at the frozen image of himself and Emily on the wall. Emily walked past her chair and took the champagne glass from his hand. Hey, he said lightly, here we go. The bride's rebuttal. She looked at me once. Then she turned to the room. For the first time that night, Emily's hand was steady. I know everybody expects me to say something sweet, she said. I wrote something sweet. Luke read it this afternoon and made it funnier. A few people smiled automatically. Luke did not. Emily set the champagne glass on the table. I'm not going to read it. Okay, Luke said. You're allowed to go off script. I know. The way she said it made Ben sit back in his chair. Emily looked around the table, though she seemed to be avoiding individual faces. I'm sorry to do this here. I'm sorry some of you came for a celebration and are getting something else, but Luke and I are separating. I signed a lease last week. I'm moving out tomorrow. Nobody moved. The slideshow kept going behind her. On the wall, Luke appeared wearing a straw hat and holding a coconut while Emily kissed his cheek. Then Phil's wife, Marcy, said, "Oh." It was a small word, but it broke whatever spell had settled over the room. Luke laughed once. No, we're not. Emily turned toward him. Yes, we are. Can we talk outside? We've talked outside. We've talked in the kitchen, in the bedroom, in the car, in parking lots. We've talked everywhere except in front of people you can't tell. I misunderstood you. Jesus Christ, Emily. I asked you not to do that. Do what? Make me sound unreasonable before I've finished a sentence. He spread his hands toward the table. I'm trying to save you from finishing this one. Doreen became very interested in folding her napkin. Steve leaned close to Alicia, but she shook her head without looking at him. I realized then that Alicia wasn't surprised. Her face was tense, but it was the tension of someone watching a heavy thing being carried downstairs. Luke noticed too. You knew? Alicia said. She needed somebody to know. I'm her husband. That's the problem, Emily said. You think being my husband means you get to know everything before I'm allowed to know it myself. Luke looked around the room as if one of us might translate. This is insane, he said. This is our anniversary dinner. I know what dinner it is. You planned this? I planned to move. I planned to tell you after dinner. Then why are you doing this now? Emily's eyes went to the maple box under her chair, then to me. Because Dad was leaving. Every face at the table turned in my direction. I've worked under buses with 40 gallons of diesel threatening to come down on me. I've had brake chambers let go 6 inches from my hand. None of that prepares you for 12 adults silently deciding you must know why a marriage is ending. Luke stared at me. You knew about this? No. Come on, Cal. I didn't. You expect me to believe she rented an apartment, organized this little announcement, and you had no idea. She didn't organize an announcement, Alicia said. You kept pushing. Luke pointed at her. Stay out of this. Alicia leaned back. There he is. Steve murmured her name, not as a warning exactly, but close enough. Luke ignored them and looked at me again. Tell her she's making a mistake. I felt Emily watching me. 7 years earlier, she had appeared at my house a little after 1 in the morning, wearing jeans, bedroom slippers, and Luke's old college sweatshirt. She carried an overnight bag. I'd been asleep on the couch and opened the door with a television remote in my hand because I thought it was the phone. She told me they'd had a fight. She said she couldn't go back that night. I made coffee. She cried at my kitchen table without making a sound. Before sunrise, I drove her home. I remembered telling myself I had calmed her down. I remembered Luke coming outside barefoot, putting his arms around her and thanking me over her shoulder. I had never asked what the fight was about. "Dad," Emily said now. I stood because sitting felt like hiding. "You don't need my permission to leave," I said. My mouth had gone dry. "And he doesn't get to borrow my voice to make you stay." Luke's face changed. The performance went out of it so quickly that for a moment he looked younger. "Well," he said, "there it is." Ben rubbed both hands over his face. "Could we maybe clear the room?" "No," Luke said. "Cal's chosen a side. Everybody should get to see it." "I'm not choosing a side. You just did. I'm choosing my own words." Luke gave me a thin smile. For once. That landed because it was true enough to hurt. Marcy pushed back her chair. "I think we should go." Phil stood with her. He looked at me as though I had installed defective flooring in his house. Doreen rose next and touched Emily's arm. "Whatever happens, honey, marriage is a sacred promise." Emily looked down at Doreen's hand until Doreen removed it. "Thank you for coming," Emily said. People began collecting coats and phones. They spoke in low voices, apologizing to one another for needing room between chairs. One man carried his unfinished wine into the hallway and returned when he realized he couldn't leave with the glass. Luke stood at the head of the table, watching his anniversary depart. "You happy?" he asked Emily. "No." "Could have fooled me. Nothing could fool you." "You always know what I mean before I say it." Ben got up. "Both of you stop." Emily looked at him. "I'm not asking you to take my side." "Then what are you asking?" "Because you just dropped this in a room full of people and made Dad the deciding vote. I didn't make him anything. You stopped him from leaving." "Yes." "Why?" Her face tightened. "Because the last time I left Luke, Dad took me back." I heard the sentence before I understood what she meant by back. Luke understood immediately. "Exactly," he said. "Because your father knew you were upset and acting impulsively." Emily's voice stayed level. "I was at his house for 4 hours. He told me divorce turns every holiday into a negotiation. He told me loneliness was worse than anger. Then he drove me home before the sun came up because he wanted the problem solved. I could smell that old pot of coffee. I remembered Emily staring out the passenger window. I had thought her quiet meant she was calmer. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "I did." "No." "You said you had a fight." "I said I couldn't breathe in my own house." Luke scoffed. "That was a metaphor, Cal. She gets dramatic when she's exhausted." Emily looked at me, not him. "You said every marriage has ugly seasons." I thought I was helping. I know. Those 2 words were worse than blame. Luke came around the table. "You were helping." She came home. We worked it out. "We stopped talking about it," Emily said. "That isn't the same thing." 7 years, Em. Are you seriously rewriting 7 years because I made a joke about a wooden box? This isn't about the box. Then why tonight? Because you read the letter I wrote you and crossed out the parts you didn't like. It was depressing. It was honest. It said we'd hurt each other. We have. People don't want to hear that at an anniversary dinner. That's why I took it back. You took it back because it was self-indulgent. I saw Emily flinch, so slight I might have missed it if I hadn't spent her entire life watching for signs she needed something. Luke saw it too. He softened immediately. "Come on," he said. "This has gotten way out of hand. Let's send everybody home. We'll go back, open a bottle of wine, and talk like adults." "I'm not going home with you." "Where are you going?" "I have somewhere." "With Alicia?" Alicia had stayed near the door. Steve stood beside her, holding both their coats. Emily didn't answer. Luke turned to Alicia. "You're letting her stay with you? I'm giving her a ride." "To where?" "Luke," Steve said. "Let it go tonight." Luke laughed in disbelief. "You knew too?" "I knew Alicia was worried about a friend. You were in my house 2 weeks ago." "Yes." "You drank my bourbon." Steve glanced at the floor. "I can reimburse you." It was a bad time for a joke, but Ben made a sound that might have been a laugh if he hadn't covered it with a cough. Even Emily's mouth twitched. Luke looked wounded rather than angry, which made the room harder to stand in. I had known him 18 years. I had seen him carry Emily inside after a double shift because she fell asleep in the car. I had watched him sit beside Janet at Ben's surgery and keep her distracted for 6 straight hours. He wasn't a stranger who had wandered into our family with a sign around his neck, explaining what was wrong with him. That was the trouble with the stories we tell after love goes bad. We want the beginning to contain a warning large enough to excuse us for missing it. The restaurant manager appeared in the doorway, took in the coats, the untouched cake, and Luke's expression, then backed out without speaking. Emily bent and picked up the maple box. "I'm sorry about this, Dad. The box is fine. I don't mean the box. I know." She held it out to me. "It was for you. I can't take it tonight. You don't have to read the papers. I already read one. M." She pressed the box against my chest until I took it. "I'll call you tomorrow," she said. "I can drive you. Alicia's driving me. You can stay at my place. I already have somewhere to stay." It was the gentlest refusal I had ever received, and somehow that made it feel more complete. Luke watched us. "So that's it? You make a speech, walk out, and your father carries the evidence?" "There's no evidence," I said. He pointed at the box. "Then why are you holding it like one?" Emily went to the door. Luke said her name, and she stopped. For a moment I thought she might turn around. So did he. Hope made his whole body lean toward her. She said, "Please don't come looking for me tonight." Then she left with Alicia and Steve. Ben waited until the hallway door closed. "That was cruel," he said. Luke nodded. "Thank you. I wasn't talking only to her." Luke stared at him. Ben turned to me. "And you. You had no idea?" "No. But you backed her anyway." "I backed her right to decide." "That sounds nice." Ben pulled on his coat. It sounded less nice in a room where none of us knew what the hell was happening. "What did you want me to say?" "I don't know, Dad. Maybe something before tonight. Maybe somebody in this family could speak before the building catches fire." He left before I found an answer. I carried the maple box home under my arm. Luke called before I reached my driveway. I let it ring twice, then answered. "Do you know where she is?" he asked. "No. I need you to tell me. I can't tell you what I don't know." He was silent for a moment. "That's never stopped you from telling her where she belongs," he said. "Good night, Luke. Don't hang up." I hung up. At home, I set the maple box on my kitchen table and left my coat on. The house was 48 degrees quieter than Bellini's. The refrigerator clicked off. Pipes knocked somewhere behind the laundry room wall. I could hear the little clock over the stove making up for all the clocks nobody listens to anymore. My phone lit up with a text from Emily. "I'm safe. I'm sorry." I wrote, "You don't have to apologize to me." Then I erased it because people often say that when what they mean is they don't want to discuss the apology. I tried, "Let me know if you need anything." That was my usual offer. Broad, dependable, and vague enough to avoid the danger of asking what she actually needed. I erased that too. "I'm glad you're safe," I wrote. "I'm here." 3 dots appeared, vanished, then appeared again. "Tomorrow at 10. Could you be at the house?" I looked at the words for a while. "To help you move? No, just to be there." I told her I would. The box sat between my elbows when I lowered myself into a chair. I slid the lid back and found that Luke had returned the notes in no particular order. Year 14 lay on top of year 3. Year 6 had unfolded inside the box and caught against one corner. I began sorting them. There was a memory for year 11, the year Emily had come to my house, in slippers with the overnight bag. I had written about Luke and Emily showing up with takeout on my birthday after Janet canceled dinner because of a migraine. They brought Chinese food and a grocery store cake with CAL spelled call because the bakery clerk misunderstood Luke over the phone. We laughed about it for years. It was a good memory. It was also proof that if you pick your angle carefully, you can photograph almost any year without showing the wreckage beside it. I put the notes back, carried the box to the hall closet, then stood there holding it because hiding it felt childish. I returned it to the table. Luke called twice more. Ben called once. I didn't answer any of them. At 9:40 the next morning, I pulled up in front of Emily and Luke's house. Luke's black sedan was in the driveway. Alicia's hatchback was parked at the curb with the rear seats folded down and a blue tarp spread inside. A white moving van idled behind her. The front door was open. I found Emily in the living room, wearing jeans, boots, and the same green dress from the night before. She had put a gray sweatshirt over it. Her pinned-up hair had partially collapsed, leaving one side hanging lower than the other. "You slept in that?" I asked. "It slept less than I did." Alicia came out of the hallway carrying a lamp without its shade. "Morning, Cal." "Morning. Where's Steve?" "He has the good sense to stay out of somebody else's separation." From the kitchen, Luke called, "Coffee's fresh." Alicia looked at me, and yet he made 12 cups. The house smelled like coffee and cinnamon rolls. Luke had set out plates, paper napkins, juice, fruit, and a carton of milk as though moving day were a church volunteer project. He stood at the counter in khakis and a button-down shirt, with the sleeves rolled neatly to his elbows. "Thanks for coming," he said. Emily asked me. "Of course." On the kitchen table sat 3 legal pads, 2 markers, a tape dispenser, and a stack of printed labels. Bedroom, bathroom, office, kitchen, her. Luke had always liked a system, especially one where he made the categories. Emily stepped into the kitchen behind me. "I told you not to pack my things. I didn't pack. I organized. You put labels on my life. I put labels on boxes." A mover appeared in the doorway. He was a broad man around 50 with a red beard and the tactful expression of someone who had walked into hundreds of homes at the wrong moment. "Ma'am, we're ready when you are." Emily showed him the blue tape she had placed on certain pieces of furniture. He followed her upstairs with another mover. Luke watched them go. "She's taking the guest room dresser," he said. "I poured coffee because it gave my hands something to do." "Did you agree to that?" "I said she could take whatever she wanted. Then she wants the dresser. I'm just telling you." "No, you're telling me, so I'll decide whether she should feel guilty." Luke leaned against the counter. His eyes were swollen, and a patch on his jaw showed where he had missed shaving. "You found your voice quickly." "Apparently I kept it somewhere inconvenient." He looked like he might smile. He didn't. "You think this is funny?" "No." "Then stop acting like I'm the enemy." "I don't think you're the enemy." "Good. Tell her that." I took my coffee into the living room. He followed me. "Cal, I'm not carrying messages. We're in the same house." "Then tell her yourself." "She won't listen." "That doesn't make me a better set of ears." The movers came downstairs with the dresser. Luke moved automatically to help guide them around the corner, one hand protecting the doorframe. He was good at practical things when there was an audience, and often when there wasn't. That was what made it hard to hold a clean opinion of him. Emily returned for a stack of boxes marked clothes. Luke said, "You don't have to take everything today. I know. You can leave some things and come back when you've calmed down." "I am calm. You announced our separation in front of my clients. And my family. Ben's my family too." "Then stop making him referee." The door opened behind her. Ben walked in carrying 2 cardboard trays of coffee. Everybody stared at him, except Luke. "I figured nobody slept," Ben said. He lifted the trays a little. "Apparently cinnamon rolls beat me here." Emily's face closed. "Why are you here?" Luke called. "Of course he did. Don't do that." "Do what?" "Make everything sound like evidence." Alicia came down the stairs with a shoebox and muttered, "I picked the wrong day to quit smoking." Ben handed me a coffee I hadn't requested. I thought we could talk. Emily picked up another box. "Talk while you carry," she said. "I didn't come to help you move." "Then you came to stop me." "I came because my brother-in-law called me at 3 in the morning, sounding like somebody died." Luke said, "That is not what I said. You said your marriage was dead. That's different." "It didn't feel different at 3. Emily bent to lift the box. I reached for it at the same time. "I've got it," she said. "I know." "Then let go." I let go. She carried it outside. Alicia followed, giving the 4 of us a look that managed to accuse every man in the room separately. Ben waited until the door closed. "Where is she moving?" "I don't know," Luke said. Ben looked at me. "I don't know either. You're here for the move and you don't know where." "She asked me to be here. And that was enough?" "Yes." He shook his head. "Last night you said you weren't taking sides. I'm standing in a living room. Her living room." "It's my living room too," Luke said. I looked at him. "That's not helping. I'm glad somebody's comfortable correcting me." Ben set the coffees on an end table too hard. One lid popped loose and spilled onto a coaster. "I'm not correcting anybody," he said. "I'm trying to understand how Dad went from not knowing a thing to being her bodyguard. I'm not her bodyguard." "Then what are you doing?" That was a fair question. I had been asking myself since 9:40. I looked through the open front door. Emily stood beside the moving van while the red-bearded mover secured the dresser with a strap. She wasn't watching the furniture. She was watching the house. "I'm doing what she asked." Ben laughed without humor. "That's new?" Luke looked down. I could have defended myself. I could have listed the favors, repairs, rides, and midnight calls. Instead, I said, yes. Ben's anger faltered. Emily came back inside. The movers need the desk. Luke straightened. Not that desk. You said anything I wanted. I use that. You've been using the dining room table for 3 years. I was going to move back into the office. When? I didn't know there was a deadline. She looked at him for a long moment. Keep it. I'm not trying to keep it. I'm saying we should discuss it. I just did. She went upstairs again. Luke turned to me. You see how she does that? I picked up the coffee Ben had brought me. How she does what? Turns a conversation into a door slamming. She didn't slam a door. You know what I mean. I'm starting to think that's been the problem. He stared at me, hurt spreading slowly across his face. The rest of the move took an hour. Emily claimed less than I expected. The guest room dresser, a chair from the bedroom, a bookcase, 2 lamps, half the kitchenware, and the old record player she had bought before she met Luke. She left the couch, the dining set, and every frame photograph. Luke stood by the door and told the movers which wall corners were tight. When the last box was loaded, Emily walked through the house once more. She came back carrying a green ceramic mug with a chipped handle. Luke looked at it. That's mine. You hate this mug. My sister gave it to me. You said it looked like a swamp. It's still mine. Emily held it out. He didn't take it. Forget it, he said. No. She set it on the entry table. I don't want to take one more thing you can use as a reason to call. His face tightened. I don't need a mug to call my wife. I'm not answering today. Tomorrow? I don't know. Monday? She went outside. I stayed long enough to see Ben sit down on the arm of the couch. He looked exhausted. You going with her? He asked me. I suppose. Of course you are. Ben? He picked at the cardboard sleeve on his coffee. I'm angry at her, Dad. That doesn't mean I want anything bad to happen. I know. No, you don't. You two do this thing where she's hurt, and suddenly anybody who doesn't agree with her exactly is dangerous. We do that? You don't notice because you're always the safe one. Luke stood in the kitchen doorway behind him. I had the sense that if I stayed, I would become responsible for both of them. So I left. Emily's apartment was 12 minutes away, on the 2nd floor of a brick building above a tax preparation office. The living room smelled like dust and fresh paint. A mattress lay on the bedroom floor, still wrapped in plastic. Alicia had stocked the refrigerator with bottled water, eggs, cheese, and a bottle of champagne Emily hadn't opened. I carried in the lampshades. Emily stood at the kitchen sink, testing the faucet. It drips, she said. I can fix that. She looked over her shoulder. I didn't ask you to. I know, you've been here 4 minutes. It's a washer. It can drip. I put the lampshades down. She turned off the faucet and faced me. When you got up to leave last night, I watched you look at me and smile like nothing hurt. I knew exactly what you were doing. So did I. No, Dad. You were disappearing so I wouldn't have to defend you. The faucet released one bright drop into the empty sink. She rubbed both hands over her face. I realized I'd been doing the same thing for 18 years. My phone began ringing. Luke's name appeared on the screen. Emily looked at it, then at me. I turned the phone face down on the counter. The phone stopped ringing. Emily watched it as if Luke might come through the counter. You can answer, she said. I don't want to. You always answer. Maybe that's why he keeps calling. She picked at a piece of dried paint near the sink. He'll say I'm controlling who you talk to. Are you? No. Then we're fine. That has never stopped him. My phone buzzed with a voicemail, then a text. Please call me when you are not with her. Emily saw the preview. There, she said. Now, if you call him later, it means I kept you from doing it now. If you don't call, I've turned you against him. You seem to know his playbook. I helped write it. She opened a kitchen drawer and found a roll of shelf liner Alicia had left. For the next few minutes, she measured the drawer badly, cut the liner crooked, and pretended I wasn't there. I pointed at one corner. That's going to buckle. I want it to buckle. Then you've achieved your goal. She looked at me. You know, encouragement doesn't have to sound like a vehicle inspection. I'm new at it. A laugh escaped her before she could stop it. She pressed the shelf liner flat with both hands. I didn't plan to tell him that way, she said. I figured. I was going to wait until everybody left. Alicia was going to stay. Then I'd tell him, take my overnight bag and come here. Why did you stop me? I told you. You needed me to hear you. Yes, that's not the whole answer. She leaned against the counter. When he opened your box, I knew he was going to make fun of it. I knew before he unfolded the first note. I can survive being teased. That isn't the point. It wasn't his best moment. She gave me a tired smile. There you go. What? You turn everything into weather, not his best moment. An ugly season, a rough patch. Like nobody did it and everybody just needs an umbrella. I looked at the faucet. Another drop gathered, held, and fell. What should I call it? He humiliated you. That gives him more credit than he earned. Dad. What do you want me to say? That I was devastated because Luke did a bad imitation of me? I wasn't. I thought he was being an ass. Her eyebrows lifted. I know the word, I said. I've heard Ben use it. That might be the meanest thing you've ever said about Luke. It's not even the meanest thing I've thought since breakfast. She smiled again, but it didn't last. I should have stopped him, she said. Yes. The answer surprised both of us. Emily crossed her arms. You could have told him to stop too. Yes. So we agree. We agree we both left you to do something neither one of us was willing to do. Her face sharpened. I was the one leaving my marriage, and I was the one leaving the room. She turned away. I wanted to take the sentence back, not because it was false, but because it had arrived before I knew what I meant by it. Why did you come to my house that night? I asked. You know why. No, I know you came after a fight. I know what you were wearing. I know the bag was blue and the zipper was broken. I know I made coffee you didn't drink. That's not the same as knowing why. She opened the refrigerator, stared inside, and closed it again. I'd been offered a 6-month assignment in Portland, she said. This was the first I had heard of it. For work? No, Dad. Competitive lumberjacking. You don't own an axe. It was for work. Emily managed scheduling and patient services for a rehabilitation clinic. She was the person who could rearrange a month of appointments when 2 therapists got sick, a pipe burst, and a computer system stopped recognizing Tuesdays. I didn't take it, she said, obviously. Luke didn't want you to? He said he supported whatever I decided. Then he spent 2 weeks explaining why taking it would be selfish, expensive, disruptive, and bad for us. When I said I still wanted to go, he told Steve and Alicia before I'd made a decision. At dinner, he joked that I was having a midlife crisis at 34. What did they say? Alicia asked why he was afraid to be alone. I could picture Luke laughing. He didn't speak to me on the drive home, Emily said. Then at the house, he said I'd embarrassed him. I said I wasn't going to Portland because I couldn't stand the idea of spending 6 months having the same argument over the phone. He said that proved I didn't really want it, so you left. I said I wanted one night where he couldn't explain me to myself. He followed me from room to room, not yelling, that would have been easier, just making sure every thought I had came back with corrections. She folded her arms tighter. I told you I couldn't breathe in my own house. I thought you meant the fight. I meant the house. I rested my palms on the counter. I'm sorry. I know. No. Don't do that this time. She looked at me. I'm sorry I took you back before I understood why you left. Her eyes filled, but her voice stayed firm. You didn't make me stay 7 more years. I helped. You drove me home. I unpacked the bag. I turned down Portland. I stayed every day after that. Don't take my bad choices away from me just because you feel guilty. That's an unusual request. I've had 18 years of somebody turning my decisions into reactions. I'm not giving you the good version. We stood on opposite sides of the empty kitchen, both of us too stubborn to look away. Then the faucet dripped again. Emily pointed at it. Tell me how to fix that. You just told me it could drip. It has lost that privilege. I found a wrench in my trunk and showed her where to shut off the water beneath the sink. She lay on her back with her head inside the cabinet while I talked her through loosening the faucet handle. You're turning it the wrong way, I said. I am under a sink in yesterday's dress. Every way is wrong. Counterclockwise. From my perspective, or God's. God doesn't do plumbing. That explains a lot. The wrench slipped. Water sprayed from the loosened stem and hit her in the face. She came out swearing, hair soaked, gray sweatshirt dark at the collar. I reached past her and closed the valve she had only turned halfway. For 10 full seconds, she looked furious. Then she began laughing. She sat on the kitchen floor laughing hard enough that she had to hold the cabinet door. I sat beside her because my knees were no longer built for hovering. We stayed there until the laughter thinned into something less comfortable. "I don't know what I'm doing," she said. "Nobody knows what they're doing under a sink, you know what I mean." "I know. Tell me I'm not making a mistake." I looked at her wet face. "I can't." The hurt arrived immediately. "What I can tell you," I said, "is that you're allowed to make your own mistake." She wiped her cheek with her sleeve. "That's not very comforting." "It's what I have." She nodded after a while. "Okay." She replaced the washer herself. The faucet stopped dripping. I went home with wet cuffs and 3 missed calls. The first message came from Luke, asking me to meet him alone. The second came from Ben, saying he was sorry about what he'd said in the living room, but still thought Emily had handled everything wrong. The third was a group text from Luke. "Dinner tomorrow at 6. Nothing heavy. We're still family, and I think we could all use something normal." The recipients were Ben, Janet, and me. Emily's name was not there. I typed, "Is Emily invited?" Luke answered privately. "She made it clear she wants space." That wasn't what I asked. No response came. At 5:58 the following evening, I stood on Luke's porch wondering why I had gone. Part of it was habit. Sunday dinner had rotated among our houses for years, but Emily and Luke hosted more often because Luke liked a full table, and Emily could make 6 dishes finish at the same time. Part of it was worry about Ben. Mostly I wanted to see what Luke called normal when Emily wasn't present to arrange it. Janet's car was already in the driveway. Luke opened the door wearing an apron that said, "Kiss the chef or lower your expectations." "I wasn't sure you'd come," he said. Neither was I. He hugged me. That was Luke. He could make affection feel like both forgiveness and a warning. The dining table was set for 4. Janet sat with a glass of wine, turning the stem between her fingers. She wore a red sweater, and the expression she had used throughout our marriage whenever I brought home a machine part and claimed it wouldn't stay in the house long. "This is cozy," she said. "You didn't know?" I knew there was dinner. I did not know I had been drafted into a family summit. "It's not a summit," Luke said from the kitchen. Ben came through the back door carrying a paper bag. "Bread," he announced. "The traditional carbohydrate of people avoiding a subject." Luke took the bag from him. "Nobody's avoiding anything. I just don't think one person gets to blow up the family and then isolate everybody." "Who's isolated?" I asked. Luke set the bread on the counter. Emily decided she needed space. "From you. From this house." Those were her words. "Did you invite her?" She wouldn't answer me. That's not an answer. Luke pulled off the apron. "I'm trying to have dinner with people I consider family. Am I allowed to do that, or does Emily control where all of you eat now?" Ben looked at me. "Can we not start?" Janet took a drink of wine. "We started last Friday. We're just changing locations." I looked at the empty space where Emily's chair usually sat. Luke had moved it against the wall and replaced it with a potted plant from the anniversary dinner. "I'm leaving," I said. Luke laughed. "You just got here." I asked whether Emily was invited. You wouldn't answer. "So you won't eat with us unless she approves the guest list?" "This dinner isn't about food. It could be if everybody stopped performing." I picked up my coat. Luke stepped closer. "You're really going to do this?" "Do what?" "Punish me because my wife left." "I'm not punishing you." "Then sit down." "No." His face hardened. "Same old Cal. One uncomfortable conversation and you're halfway to the door." I left before I could pretend that wasn't true. Janet followed me onto the porch. "Wait. I'm not asking you to leave. I know. That's why I am." She pulled the door shut behind her and folded her arms against the cold. "You think walking out made a point?" she asked. "Yes, it did. Just not the one you think?" "Enlighten me." "You've always confused leaving quietly with taking a stand." I wasn't going to help him exclude her. "Good. But don't congratulate yourself yet." I wasn't planning to. Janet looked through the dining room window at Ben and Luke. "You're standing up now, Cal. Make sure you know the difference between standing beside Emily and standing behind her while she takes every hit." "I'm not hiding behind her." Janet gave me the look she used when I claimed the thermostat had changed itself. "What have you actually said to Luke?" she asked. I told him I wouldn't carry messages. And I told him dinner was a bad idea. "No, you left dinner. That is not the same as saying why." He knew why. "People always know what you mean in your version of events." The porch light caught the silver in her hair. Janet had let it grow to her shoulders after our divorce. though for 30 years she'd complained that long hair made her neck hot. I once asked why she changed it. She said she got tired of making choices based on a life she no longer lived. I asked whether Emily was invited, I said. He turned it into an accusation. Of course he did. He's Luke. He could turn a weather report into closing arguments. Then why are you mad at me? I'm not mad. I'm cold. You followed me out here to critique my exit. I followed you because I knew if I let you drive away, you'd spend the ride home feeling morally correct and miserable. The front door opened. Ben leaned out. Are you two coming back? No, Janet and I said together. He stared at us. That was unsettling. I'm leaving, Janet said. Luke appeared behind him. Jan, come on, dinner's ready. She turned around. You invited me because you thought Cal would behave better if I was here. That's not true. You also thought I'd be angry at Emily because she announced it publicly. You said it was cruel. It was cruel. That doesn't make this less manipulative. Luke's mouth tightened. Janet pointed through the doorway at the dining room. You removed her chair. It was crowded. There are 4 place settings at a table that seats 8. I didn't want an empty chair sitting there, like some kind of statement. So you replaced it with flowers from the anniversary dinner. Luke glanced toward the plant as if seeing it for the first time. That wasn't intentional. Janet shrugged into her coat. Then you're losing your touch. Ben stepped onto the porch. Can everybody stop trying to win for 10 minutes? I'm not trying to win, Luke said. You invited our divorced parents to a dinner without your wife 2 days after she left you. I invited my family. You keep saying that, like Emily resigned. Luke looked at him. You were angry at her an hour ago. I'm still angry at her. That doesn't mean I want to audition for her replacement. Nobody had an answer to that. Janet walked down the porch steps. I followed. Behind us, Luke said, so much for not taking sides. Janet turned at the sidewalk. Luke, when everybody leaves your dinner, it is possible the problem is not everybody. We got into separate cars. She pulled away first. I sat behind the wheel without starting the engine. Through the dining room window, I saw Ben return to the table. Luke stood in the kitchen with both hands braced on the counter. He looked small from outside. The flowers blocked part of his face. I thought about going back. Then Luke picked up the plant from Emily's place and hurled it into the kitchen sink. The pot didn't break. It landed sideways, scattering dark soil across the white counter. Luke remained still for a second, then carefully lifted the plant, gathered the soil with his bare hands, and tried to put everything back the way it had been. I started the car. Janet called before I reached the end of the block. You saw that too? She asked. Yes. He knew we could see him. I don't think he did. Of course you don't. What's that supposed to mean? It means you've spent your life giving everybody the most generous explanation available, then feeling betrayed when generosity doesn't alter what they did. So, he threw a plant, and then cleaned it up. What do you want me to say? I don't want you to say anything to me. I want you to stop treating silence like the only honest answer. I pulled to the curb. Do you think I caused this? I asked. Their marriage? No. Emily staying? Janet was quiet. You helped, she said. The same word Emily had used. You also helped her leave, Janet added. That's the trouble with raising adults. Eventually you get to be responsible without being in charge. You make that sound like a slogan. I've had 12 years to polish it. A car passed me, its headlights filling the cab. Why did you leave me? I asked. Janet sighed. Cal, I know why you said you left. I want to know what you think now. Now? 12 years to polish it. She didn't answer immediately. During our divorce, Janet told friends we had grown apart. I liked the phrase because it made the end of 34 years sound botanical. 2 trees had leaned toward different sources of light. Nobody had to mention the nights she cried in our bedroom while I sat in the garage cleaning tools that were already clean. You were never cruel to me, she said. That made it harder to explain. I'm sorry I wasn't more obviously terrible. You joke because you think I'm accusing you, aren't you? No. I'm answering. I waited. The night I told you I wanted to separate, you asked whether I wanted to keep the good towels. That was a practical question. It was the first question. I didn't know what to say. You never knew what to say, so you found something to fix, carry, divide, or drive. You were the best person in the world to call when a pipe burst. I just couldn't get you to notice I was drowning unless the water damaged the floor. I closed my eyes. You told me you'd made up your mind. I had. What should I have done? Anything that proved losing me hurt. It did. I know that now. You didn't then? You helped me load the car, Cal. You asked me to. Yes. And that's the defense you've used ever since. Nobody can accuse you of failing them because you always do exactly what they ask. A long silence passed. Then Janet said, more gently, Emily didn't ask you to save her marriage or end it. She asked you not to leave the room. Maybe start there. We hung up without saying goodnight. The closet rod in Emily's apartment came down on Tuesday. She called while I was in the hardware store, returning the pump housing for my dishwasher. The old dishwasher had stopped leaking on its own, which meant it was planning something worse. Hypothetically, Emily said, how much weight should a closet rod hold? That depends on the rod. Wood? What diameter? Round. That is not a diameter. There are clothes on me. I set the dishwasher part on the counter. Are you under the rod? Partially. Get out from under it. I had considered building a life here. By the time I arrived, she had freed herself. Every item of clothing she'd brought from the house lay in a heap across the bedroom floor. One bracket had torn out of the wall, leaving 2 pale holes and a drift of plaster dust. Emily sat on the plastic-wrapped mattress, holding the broken bracket. It was attached with 1 screw, she said. That'll do it. I assumed whoever installed it knew what they were doing. Never assume that in a rental. She handed me the bracket. Can you fix it? Yes. I looked at the closet, then handed it back. She frowned. What are you doing? Showing you. I called because I wanted it fixed, and I can show you. Dad, I have spent 2 days changing addresses, canceling automatic deliveries, and explaining to my supervisor why I'm suddenly taking personal calls in the supply room. I don't need a seminar on drywall anchors. Then leave the clothes on the floor. You drove here to tell me no? I drove here because you called. Yes, for help. No. You called because a thing broke, and that's the only reason you know how to ask me to come over. The hurt on her face told me I had said it too sharply. That's not fair. Probably not. You could have said you didn't want to fix it. I do want to fix it. That's the problem. She stood and dropped the bracket onto the mattress. What exactly are we doing here? You spent my whole life proving I could count on you, and now you've decided it's unhealthy? I'm deciding I don't want repairs to be our only language. They weren't our only language. What did we talk about before Friday? Things. What things? She looked toward the window. I waited. Finally, she said, I don't know how to call you and say the apartment is too quiet. The anger went out of me. Emily sat again. I don't know how to ask you to come over unless there's a task. I don't know if that's because of you or me or both of us, but there it is. I lowered myself beside her. The apartment is too quiet, she said. Yes. Don't tell me it'll feel normal eventually. I wasn't going to. You were thinking it. I was thinking the traffic is loud. A truck rattled past outside, making the bedroom window buzz. Emily leaned against my shoulder. We sat among the fallen clothes without fixing anything. After a while, she asked, Did you go to Luke's dinner? I could have lied. The fact that I considered it embarrassed me. Yes. She moved away. Why? I wanted to see what he was doing. You could have asked me. I would have told you. I wanted to decide for myself. She nodded once. Okay. He didn't invite you. Your mother left when she realized that. I left too. Ben stayed. For a while. That means yes. Were you expecting everyone to refuse to see Luke? No. You sound like you were. I'm trying to learn the difference between people loving him and people helping him punish me. So am I. My phone buzzed. A text from Luke appeared. I have a few of her things. If she wants them, you can pick them up. I showed Emily. She read it and laughed bitterly. He knows where I work. He knows my email. He knows Alicia. I'll tell him to contact you directly. He won't. Then he can say, I'm forcing him to go through my father. I typed, contact Emily directly about Emily's belongings. His reply came before I put the phone down. She blocked me. Emily shook her head. I muted him. I sent, then email her. Luke called immediately. I rejected it. The phone rang again. Emily picked up the fallen closet rod and rolled it between her palms. He'll call Ben next, she said. As if summoned by the sentence, a message appeared from my son. Dad, can you please stop making me the middleman? Just call Luke. I called Ben. Emily looked at me. You don't have to. I'm not doing it for Luke. That's what everybody says right before they do something for Luke. Ben answered with, Finally. You said I made you the middleman. You did. How? By refusing to talk to him. Luke can talk to me. He can't use me to talk to Emily. That sounds like a distinction invented by somebody who isn't getting calls at 3 in the morning. You don't have to answer, Ben laughed. Right. I'll just stop answering people who are upset. Family tradition. Emily flinched. Ben, I said, is she there? Yes, of course. Emily held out her hand for the phone. I shook my head. Don't discuss me like I'm not here, she said loudly enough for him to hear. I'm not discussing you, Ben said. I'm discussing Dad. That would be a first this week. See? This. Every sentence is a knife, but somehow Luke's the only one who hurts people. Emily took 2 steps away and folded her arms. I said, Luke has some of her belongings. He can email her. He says she won't respond. He hasn't emailed me, Emily called. Ben was quiet. Then he said, he told me he had. Emily took the phone from my hand before I could stop her. What address did he use? Emily, what address, Ben? I don't know. My work address, my personal email, the one we used for the cable bill? I said, I don't know. Then why did you believe him? Because he called me crying, and you haven't called me at all. That stopped her. The closet rod rolled off the mattress and struck the floor with a wooden knock. I didn't know you wanted me to, she said. I was at your anniversary dinner. You told me I was cruel. You were. I didn't think you wanted to hear from me. Did you ask? Emily sat on the edge of the mattress. No. I found out you moved from Dad. I didn't tell Dad where I was moving. Exactly. He got to come anyway. I got coffee spilled on an end table and a front row seat to Luke falling apart. You went when he called. Somebody did. I reached for the phone. Emily let me take it. Ben, I said, you don't have to carry either one of them. Easy for you to say. You already picked which one you're carrying. I'm not carrying Emily. She gave me a pointed look from the mattress. I'm trying not to, I corrected. Ben exhaled. Luke wants 10 minutes with her. That's all. Then Luke can ask her. He is asking, through me, because she won't talk to him. Emily stood. Tell him no. Ben heard her. And now she's answering through you, he said. The call ended. I held the phone for a second after the screen went dark. Emily picked up the broken bracket. I hate this, she said. So does Ben. He thinks I should go back. I don't know what he thinks. He called me cruel. You were cruel, she stared at me. You chose an anniversary dinner full of people to announce you were leaving, I said. You had reasons. That doesn't make it kind. Luke would have talked over me. Probably. So, what was I supposed to do? I don't know. Maybe there wasn't a way to do it without hurting him. That isn't what you said Friday. Friday, you needed to know you could leave. That doesn't mean everything you did was right. Her eyes went cold. You waited 4 days to mention that. I needed 4 days to think it. Or, Mom told you. I looked at her. She called you, didn't she? We talked. Of course. Your mother thinks you had the right to leave. She also thinks suffering should be quiet and well-dressed. That isn't fair. She wore red to a divorce dinner. She didn't know it was a divorce dinner. Mom always knows what room she's walking into. I took the bracket from Emily's hand and knelt by the closet wall. Find me a pencil. I thought you weren't fixing it. We're fixing it? That sounds suspiciously like carrying. You can hold the level. She found a pencil in the kitchen junk drawer. I showed her how to locate the stud, mark the height, and drill a pilot hole. She insisted the rod had been too low before, so we raised it 3 inches. That meant the hems of her longer dresses nearly touched the floor, which she blamed on me. When the bracket was secure, she tugged it twice. That's not going anywhere, I said. People say that right before things go somewhere. Then it will surprise us both. She began hanging clothes. At the door, I said, call Ben. I will. Not to explain yourself, just call him. She slid an empty hanger onto the rod. Don't turn one honest conversation into a management position. Fair. And Dad? Yes? Thank you for sitting here. I drove home without stopping at the hardware store. Luke's sedan was parked in front of my house. He stood at the open side door of my garage with 2 red toolboxes at his feet. Beside them were my socket set, a cordless drill, a circular saw, and a coiled orange extension cord I had been asking him to return since the previous Christmas. You changed the lock, he said. The keypad battery died. The code doesn't work because the battery died. I thought maybe you didn't want me getting in. I don't want anybody getting in without telling me. You gave me the code 6 years ago. Luke looked at the tools. Every one of them had been wiped clean. The extension cord had been looped so neatly it looked new. I brought your stuff back. I see that. Didn't want it held over me. I've never held a circular saw over anybody. You know what I mean. I do. That's why I'm trying to make you say it. He looked toward the house. Can we talk inside? We can talk here. It's cold. You wore a coat. Luke tucked both hands into his pockets. I owe you an apology. All right? For the box. I was nervous. I didn't know what was coming, but I knew something was off with Emily. I saw that gift and made a joke, because that's what I do when I'm uncomfortable. You made 6. I said I was sorry. You said you owed me an apology. He rubbed his jaw. I'm sorry, Cal. Thank you. Will you tell her that? No. His shoulders dropped. Come on, tell her yourself. I've emailed. She hasn't answered. What address? He hesitated. Luke, the joint account. The account you both use for utilities? She checks it. You told Ben you emailed her. I did. You emailed an account you can read. I wanted a record that I reached out. There it was. Not a crime. Not even a lie, exactly. Just an arrangement of facts designed to leave him standing in the best light. Use her personal email, I said. She'll delete it. That's her right. Marriage doesn't work if one person can refuse every conversation. You're separated. We've been separated for 4 days. She was unhappy longer. So was I. That answer caught me. Luke lowered himself onto one of the toolboxes. You think I enjoyed being the only person in that house willing to make a decision? Where we ate, when we traveled, whether we replaced the roof, whose family got Thanksgiving. She'd say she didn't care, then resent me for choosing wrong. That doesn't excuse how you spoke to her. No, it doesn't. But she wasn't some voiceless prisoner until Friday night. She knows exactly how to punish people without raising her voice. You saw what she did to Ben. I also heard Ben tell her he was hurt. And did she apologize? I left before they spoke. Of course you did. I leaned against my workbench. Luke glanced at the house again. Through the kitchen window, the maple box was visible on the table. She gave it back? She couldn't take it that night. Why did you? She put it in my hands. He stood and walked toward the window, stopping short of the yard. Every piece of paper in there is a memory of us being happy. Not every memory is happy, you know what I mean. You wrote down 18 reasons our marriage mattered, and 5 minutes later, you helped her walk away from it. I didn't help her plan any of this. You stayed in the room. She asked me to. So did I. I asked you to tell her she was making a mistake. That wasn't mine to decide. It was 7 years ago. The garage felt colder. Luke looked at me. You called me that morning, remember? I did not, then I did. I had stepped outside while Emily sat at my kitchen table. I called Luke from the driveway because I didn't want her to hear. I told him she was safe. I told him I would bring her home once she settled down. You said she'd had a rough night, Luke continued. You told me not to push her for details. You said she needed steadiness. I didn't know about Portland. You didn't ask. No, and neither did I. Not after you said she needed the subject dropped. You're blaming me? I'm telling you we did the same thing. We both decided what she needed without making her say it. I looked down at the clean drill by his feet. Luke's voice softened. I was scared of Portland. I didn't want to spend 6 months alone. I should have said that. Instead, I explained money and schedules because facts felt less pathetic. That sounded enough like me that I wanted him to stop. I'll go to counseling, he said. I'll stop joking when she's serious. I'll listen. Just get her into a room with me. No, you haven't even asked her, and I won't. Why? Because you're still asking me to get her into a room. His face closed. I carried the socket set into the garage. Luke picked up the empty toolbox he had been sitting on. If you won't help me, say that, he said. I won't help you pressure her. That isn't what I asked. It's what you keep asking. He walked to his car, then turned. You know Ben is right. She uses you too. I know. No, you don't. But you will. He drove away. My phone rang while I was putting the tools back. Emily, I answered. You said I could call when the apartment was quiet, she said. Yes. Can you come sit for a while? I looked toward the kitchen window, at the maple box and Luke's taillights disappearing at the corner. I can. There was a pause. Then Emily said, Did Luke come to see you? I closed my eyes. Yes, I said. He did. What did he want? To talk. You're talking to me now. That isn't what I meant. I know what you meant. What did he say? I looked at the tools on my garage floor. He apologized for the box. To you. Yes. Did he ask you to tell me? Yes. And here you are. I'm answering your question. That doesn't make me his delivery service. Emily was quiet. What else? She asked. He said he'd go to counseling. She laughed once without humor. Of course he did. Have you asked him before? Twice. The first time he said we didn't need to pay a stranger to tell us to communicate. The second time, he said counseling would only work if I went in willing to admit I was part of the problem. Were you? I was willing to admit it. I wasn't willing to begin there just so he could relax. I moved the circular saw onto its shelf. He talked about Portland, I said. That silence was different. How much did he tell you? Enough to remind me there are two versions. There are always two versions. One of them usually has better lighting. He said he was afraid to be alone. He told you that? Yes. Emily exhales slowly. He never told me. He said he should have. Now he can be honest because there's no risk I'll stay home for him. He might mean it. That doesn't mean I have to reward him. I didn't say it did. No. You just put it in the room. I'm not coming over if I have to pretend he doesn't exist. I didn't ask you to. You asked what he said. Because he was at my father's house discussing my marriage. He was at my house discussing his marriage. The line between us went still. Finally, Emily said, I don't want you meeting with him behind my back. He showed up. You could have sent him away. I could have, but you didn't. No. Why? Because I wanted to hear what he had to say. She took that in. You're allowed to do that, she said, though it sounded like the permission cost her something. I know. I hate that answer. I know that too. I picked up the empty red toolbox Luke had returned and put it beneath the bench. I'll be there in 20 minutes. When I went inside for my keys, I saw the maple box on the kitchen table. I took it with me. Emily had turned on every light in the apartment. The place looked less empty than it had that morning. Her books filled half the bookcase. The green dress was gone, replaced by gray sweatpants and a t-shirt from a charity walk 9 years earlier. 2 framed photographs leaned against the living room wall because she hadn't decided where to hang them. Neither picture included Luke. She saw the box under my arm. Why did you bring that? It belongs to you. I gave it back. You said you couldn't take it that night. I still can't. You don't have to do anything with it. Then why bring it? Because it's yours, and I don't want to keep using my kitchen table as an emotional storage unit. She almost smiled. I set the box beside the 2 photographs and sat on the floor with my back against the couch. Emily sat on the couch itself, leaving enough room between us to establish that she was still annoyed. Alicia had brought over cartons of Chinese food. One was labeled CAL in black marker. She planned for me. She bought too much and decided to make it look intentional. Good woman. Steve's worried you hate him. For what? The bourbon joke? That was the best thing anybody said all night. Emily handed me the carton. It contained beef with broccoli, which I didn't particularly like, but had eaten for years because my family believed I did. You don't like beef with broccoli, she said. I like parts of it. You always order it. Your mother liked it. Mom hates broccoli. Then I've made a serious error. Emily stared at me, then laughed. What do you order when you're alone? Usually nothing with a menu. That's depressing. I cook. You make eggs and call it cooking. I use a pan. We ate out of the cartons. She told me the rehabilitation clinic's phone system had gone down that afternoon, and half the staff reacted as if Alexander Graham Bell had personally betrayed them. I told her my dishwasher had healed through intimidation. For almost 15 minutes, neither of us mentioned Luke. Then Emily looked at the box. Did you really write one for every year? Yes. How did you choose them? I remembered things. That's evasive. It's accurate. She slid down from the couch and sat across from me. The box was between us. I thought it was beautiful, she said. You had an odd way of showing it. I was trying not to cry in front of Doreen. She treats tears like an invitation to touch people. Accurate. Then Luke started reading them. You could have stopped him sooner. I know. She ran one finger along the lid, but did not open it. When he made that museum joke, I wanted to throw my glass at him. That would have made the evening memorable for different reasons. You smiled? I do that. You smiled at me like you were telling me it was fine. It wasn't. Not to you either. You just don't think your hurt counts if you can survive it. I opened my carton again, though I wasn't hungry. Emily slid back the lid. The papers were arranged by year now, because I had sorted them at home. She lifted year 1, read it, and smiled at the shoelace repair. She read year 3 silently, then year 4. What did you write for 11? You can look. She found the slip. You brought takeout and a cake to my house, on my birthday, I said. I can read, I know. Call. That's what the cake said, I remember. Her thumb moved over the fold in the paper. You chose that because it was safe. I chose it because it happened. So did the other thing. I didn't know the other thing. You knew I came to your house. That memory wasn't about your marriage. It was about you leaving it. That was part of the marriage. So was you going home. She looked at me. Would you have written that? She asked. No. Why? Because I was making you an anniversary gift. That's the problem with anniversaries. You're supposed to select the evidence for staying. She set year 11 aside. I reached into the box and took out year 9. Luke waiting outside the hospital during the ice storm. He did that, I said. I know. He could have stayed home. He was terrified I'd drive. Were you planning to? Yes. So he was right. He brought a thermos of coffee and a sleeping bag. He sat in the parking lot for 9 hours. You never told me about the sleeping bag. He kept calling the nursing station to ask whether I was done. They were ready to block his number. She smiled at the note. I loved him for that, she said. You can still love him for that. Her expression tightened. That's not helpful. It isn't meant to be. What is it meant to be? True. She placed the note beside year 11. I keep waiting to hate him, she said. It would make everything easier. I don't think hating somebody makes leaving easier. It just makes staying impossible. Is that how it was with Mom? No. Your mother and I liked each other through most of the divorce. It was inconvenient. Did you want her to stay? The question went under my ribs. Yes. Did you tell her? No. Why? She had decided. That isn't an answer. It was the answer I used. Emily folded her legs beneath her. Mom said you helped load her car. She told you that. She tells it like a funny story. Your father packed better than I did. I did. Didn't you want to stop? I wanted her to turn around and see how well I was handling it. And then, she thanked me. Emily looked down at the box. That sounds lonely. It was. Is that why you drove me home? Partly. You thought I'd end up like you? I thought everybody who left ended up alone. What do you think now? I considered the apartment, the badly cut shelf liner, the repaired closet rod, the 2 pictures waiting for walls. I think people can be lonely in either direction. Emily closed the box. Luke said you two did the same thing, I said. Decided what you needed without asking. He's not wrong. That surprised me. He liked you for it, she continued. You made me easier to manage. I thought I was making things easier for you. You made things quieter. So did you. Yes. We sat with that. My phone buzzed on the floor. A message from Ben. I talked to Emily. Don't ask how it went. She saw his name. It went badly, she said. What happened? I apologized for not calling him. That sounds promising. Then he said, I only apologize because you told me to. Less promising. I said you did tell me. Honest. He said all my life. You've treated me like I'm one bad day away from breaking, and him like he could handle anything. I stared at her. Is that true? I don't know. He thinks it is. Do you? Emily pulled at a loose thread on her sweatpants. When I called from college crying because I wanted to come home, you drove 4 hours to get me. When Ben moved to Denver and called after his roommate disappeared with the rent money, you told him he'd figure it out. He did. That's not the point. Did Ben tell you that? No. Mom did. Why didn't he ask me for help? He did. You sent him a list of cheaper apartments. The memory came back in pieces. Ben trying to sound amused on the phone, me opening the newspaper to the rental section, proud of how quickly I found a solution. He needed a place to live, I said. He needed his dad to say it was okay to be scared. I stood too quickly and my knee cracked. Emily watched me. Where are you going? Home. Because of what I said? Because it's late. It's 9:30. I'm old. Dad. I picked up my empty carton. I heard you. That doesn't mean you have to run out and repair Ben. I'm not. You have your repair face. I have one face. You absolutely do not. I put the carton in her trash. The maple box remained on the floor beside Emily. Year 9 and Year 11 lay outside it. You keep that, I said. She touched the lid. I don't know if I want it. You don't have to know tonight. At the door, she said, if you call Ben, don't tell him I sent you. I won't. And don't call Luke to discuss what I said. I won't. And don't disappear because this got uncomfortable. I put my hand on the doorknob. That one, I said, I'm still working on. Ben was sitting in his truck across from my house when I got home. He stepped out before I reached the driveway. Were you with Emily? Yes. He nodded as if confirming something unpleasant. Luke called me again, he said. He says you told him you won't help. I told him I won't pressure her. He wants somebody to explain what's happening. He knows what's happening. No, Dad. He knows everybody keeps leaving rooms. The porch light came on over us. Ben shoved his hands into his jacket. You're really good at showing up when Emily asks, he said. I want to know what I have to break to get the same service. Nothing, I said. Ben's jaw tightened. Good talk. You don't have to break anything. That's not what I asked. It's what I'm answering. He turned toward his truck. Come inside. I'm not hungry. I didn't offer food. You were going to. I was going to offer coffee. Same thing with less chewing. I unlocked the door. He hesitated, then followed me into the kitchen. The maple box was gone from the table. Ben noticed immediately. You gave it to her. It was hers. You made her a box with 18 memories. Yes. Do you know how many things you've made me? That bookshelf in your office. That was from a kit. I improved it. You put the back panel on upside down. That was the kit's fault. He almost smiled, but he was determined to stay angry. I filled the coffee maker. You do know you can call me, I said. I'm here. You were sitting outside. You were with Emily. You could have called. Anne interrupted your emergency Chinese food. How do you know we had Chinese food? Because she called to apologize and spent 20 minutes eating directly into the phone. That's unhygienic. She told me you were there. The coffee maker began making the noise it made when the reservoir wasn't seated correctly. I pressed down on it. How did the apology go? I asked. You mean, did I forgive her on schedule? I mean, how did it go? Ben pulled out a chair but didn't sit. She said she was sorry I found out with everybody else. I said I was sorry Luke had been hurting her. Then she started explaining why she did it in public. You didn't want an explanation? I wanted her to ask how I was. Did you tell her? I shouldn't have to hand everybody cue cards. No, but they help. He sat. I set 2 mugs on the table. Ben turned his around by the handle without drinking. When I moved to Denver, he said, I called you from a gas station, I remember. My roommate had emptied our checking account and left. You didn't share an account, the rent account, right? I had $86, a truck full of restaurant equipment, and 3 days before I was supposed to start work. You found another apartment, 3 weeks later. I sent you listings. You emailed me 11 listings in towns I had never heard of. They were cheaper. One was in Wyoming. Denver prices were unreasonable. Ben stared at me. I'm starting to see the issue, I said. I didn't need an apartment listing. I needed you to tell me to come home if I had to. You wanted to come home? No, I wanted to know I could. The coffee maker coughed and finally began dripping. I thought telling you to come home would mean I didn't believe you could handle it. You always believed I could handle it. I was proud of you. That is not the same thing as taking care of somebody. No. You drove 4 hours when Emily wanted to leave college. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. I didn't cry. I know. That wasn't because I was less scared. I sat across from him. I should have asked. You should have come. You were 1,400 miles away. You could have said, I'll leave in the morning. I would have told you not to. We both could have pretended you were serious. I would have been serious. Then why didn't you? Because you sounded capable. Ben laughed bitterly. There it is. I thought capability was respect. It is, until it's the only thing you give somebody. He looked toward the window over the sink. His reflection floated in the dark glass, my face faint beside it. You know what everybody says about me? He asked. Ben's fine. Emily quits college for a week. Emily changes jobs. Emily's marriage is in trouble. And Ben's fine. Mom says it. You say it. Emily says it. Even Luke says it when he needs me to take a call. I don't think you're fine. That might be the nicest thing you've said to me. I've said nicer. You've said I'm dependable. You are. That's what people call you right before they give you work. I thought of Luke calling me Switzerland, Emily calling about the closet rod, my own wide-open offer to let her need anything as long as it came with a tool list. "I'm sorry," I said. Ben looked at me carefully. "For what?" "For teaching you that being easy to love meant needing less." He dropped his eyes to the mug. "I didn't say you taught me that. I'm saying it," the coffee maker finished with a hiss. Ben drank. "This is terrible. I use the good grounds. You use too many. That's not a complaint I've heard before. Mom made the coffee. Your mother believed coffee should reveal the bottom of the cup. Mom believes anything stronger than she is needs to be diluted. We drank the terrible coffee. After a minute, Ben said, "I don't think Luke's a monster. Neither do I. He loves her. I know. She can be impossible. I know that too. She goes silent and makes you guess what you did. Then when you guess wrong, it proves you never understood her. That sounds unpleasant. She did it when we were younger. Mom would ask what was wrong, and Emily would say nothing. You'd take her for a drive. Nobody ever asked what the rest of us had done while she was upstairs feeling wounded. I had taken many drives with Emily. Some had lasted hours. Ben usually stayed home with Janet. You resented her," I said. "Sometimes?" "You still do. Sometimes. That doesn't make you a bad brother. I didn't ask if it did. You came here asking what you had to break." His phone began vibrating on the table. Luke. Ben watched the name pulse across the screen. "What does he want?" I asked. "He wants me to bring Emily a letter." "Don't. He says email is too easy to ignore. That doesn't make you a postal service. He doesn't have anybody else. He has friends. His friends were at the dinner. Half of them haven't called him back. That isn't your job to repair." Ben touched the side button and silenced the phone. "What if he does something stupid?" he asked. "Has he threatened to?" "No." "Then don't invent an emergency so you can feel guilty before it happens." "That's cold. It's a boundary. Those are getting popular. They've always been popular. We just called them other people's selfishness." Luke's call went to voicemail. Ben stared at the blank screen. "What do you need right now?" I asked. He shook his head. "Don't make this weird. What do you need? I need you to tell me I'm not abandoning him if I don't answer every call." "You're not abandoning him?" "What if he says I am?" "You're still not." "What if Emily says talking to him is betraying her?" "It isn't. And if you change your mind tomorrow, then I'll be wrong tomorrow." He picked up his mug, thought better of it, and set it down. "I hate this coffee. I heard you the first time. Do you have eggs? You said you weren't hungry. That was before the emotional breakthrough. I made eggs." Ben stayed until after midnight. For 4 days, nobody asked me to fix, carry, deliver, interpret, or witness anything. I discovered how much of my daily life had been built around interruptions. I changed the dishwasher pump. I had lunch with a man named Roy from the old transit garage and learned he had gotten married in Arizona without telling any of us. I went to the hardware store and left with only what I came for, an experience so rare the cashier asked whether I was feeling all right. Emily sent me a photograph of the repaired closet rod covered in clothes. Underneath it she wrote, "Still standing." Ben texted that Luke had called twice and he had returned one call when he felt ready. No letter had been delivered. Janet left a voicemail saying, "I have no crisis. I'm calling to prove it's possible." I called her back anyway. Emily asked me to drive her to the house on Friday evening. "I'm going to talk to him," she said. We were in my kitchen. She had arrived carrying the maple box with both hands. "Did he ask you?" He emailed my personal account. What did he say? That he wanted one conversation without an audience. I looked at the box. "Then, why am I driving? I'm not asking you to come inside. You have a car, I know. You want me outside. Yes. In case you need to leave. Yes." The answer was honest enough that I didn't argue. She had read all 18 notes. I could tell because the folds were softer and year 11 was on top. "Why are you taking the box?" I asked. "I want him to understand that I'm not saying none of it mattered. You don't have to give it to him. I'm not giving it to him. I'm showing him. That seems dangerous. It's a wooden box. You know what I mean. I'm not going there to be convinced. People who can't be convinced don't need meetings." She glared at me. "That came out wrong. It came out like Luke. I'm sorry." She set the box on the table. "I need to say things to him without a restaurant full of people," she said. "I owe him that." "You don't owe him an opportunity to change your mind. I owe myself the chance to hear what I sound like when nobody's applauding or leaving." That answer made sense, which did not make me like it. We drove mostly in silence. The maple box rested on her knees. Luke had every light on when we pulled up. He opened the front door before Emily reached the porch. He wore jeans and the blue sweater she had given him the previous Christmas. He looked at me in the car, then at the box. Emily went inside. I parked across the street beneath a maple tree stripped nearly bare by the cold. Through the front window, I could see only part of the living room. Luke moved past once. Emily did not. After 20 minutes, Ben called. "I'm not interrupting something, am I?" "I'm sitting in my car." "Why?" "Emily's talking to Luke." "You're outside their house?" "She asked me to drive." Ben groaned. "You said you weren't her bodyguard." "I'm not." "You're literally waiting in a getaway car. The engine is off. That is your defense?" "She asked me to sit." "Are you going to tell me what happens?" "Not unless she asks me to." "Good." That surprised me. Ben was quiet, then said, "Luke called me earlier. He said tonight was happening. Did he ask you to do anything?" "He asked me to pray for him." "Do you pray?" "Not enough to make that useful." A shadow moved behind the living room curtain. "Dad," Ben said, "if she stays, are we all supposed to pretend this week didn't happen?" "I don't know. And if she leaves?" "I still don't know." "You're getting comfortable with that answer." "No, I'm getting honest about it." We hung up. 43 minutes after Emily went inside, the front door opened. Luke stepped onto the porch alone. He looked across the street and raised one hand. I rolled down the window. "She wants you inside," he called. I got out of the car. Luke remained on the porch until I crossed the street. Up close, he looked worse than he had in my garage. His eyes were red, and the blue sweater had a damp patch near one cuff where he'd wiped his face. "What happened?" I asked. "She wants you." "That isn't what I asked." "I know." He opened the door and let me enter first. The house felt larger with furniture missing. Pale rectangles marked the wall where Emily had taken the bookcase and the two framed photographs. The guest room dresser had left 4 dents in the carpet. In the living room, Emily sat in the chair she'd moved to her apartment and apparently brought back for the conversation. I stared at it. "I didn't bring it," she said. "He had the same chair in the basement." Luke closed the door. "We bought 2. "I forgot," I said. "That happens when you only document the good years," Emily said. The maple box sat open on the coffee table. All 18 notes were spread in a row from one end to the other. "Why am I in here?" I asked. Emily held year 11 between 2 fingers. "Did you call Luke the night I came to your house?" "Morning," Luke said. "It was morning." She looked at him. "Thank you, Luke. I'm trying to be accurate." "You're always trying to be accurate when kind would be more useful." He pressed his lips together. Emily turned back to me. "Did you call him?" "Yes." "What did you say?" I sat on the edge of the couch. It felt strange to sit there without her book stacked on one arm. "I told him you were safe." "What else?" "I said you'd had a rough night." "What else?" "I told him I'd bring you home after you calmed down." Emily looked at the note in her hand. "You decided that before you came back into the kitchen?" "I think so." "You think so?" "I did. You went outside, called my husband, and arranged my return while I was sitting in your house, asking not to go back. You didn't ask me not to take you back. I arrived with a bag. You said you needed one night. The night wasn't over." "I know." Luke stood by the mantel watching us. For the first time since I entered, he seemed content to remain quiet. Emily unfolded year 11 and smoothed it on her knee. "You both made a plan," she said. "I thought you needed sleep," I told her. "You thought I needed to stop." That was closer. Luke said, "Cal told me not to push you." Emily laughed. "How generous." "He said you needed things to feel normal." "I said that?" I asked. "You said, 'Don't make it bigger than it is.'" I remembered saying it. I had been standing at the end of my driveway, looking at the red light over my garage door, speaking quietly so Emily wouldn't hear through the kitchen window. "I didn't know what it was," I said. "Exactly," Emily replied. Luke moved closer to the coffee table. I listened to him. "When you came home, I didn't ask about Portland. I made breakfast. You made pancakes. You like pancakes. I had just spent the night telling my father I wanted to leave you, and you made pancakes shaped like hearts. I was trying. You were pretending. I was scared. You keep saying that now, because you keep demanding honesty. I demanded it then. I didn't know how to say I was terrified you'd discover you liked your life better without me." The room went still. Luke looked at me, as if embarrassed I had heard. Then he seemed to remember he had already said almost the same thing in my garage. Emily's expression softened, which frightened her more than his anger had. That's what I wanted you to say, she said. I'm saying it. 7 years later. I can't go back. Neither can I. But you can stop punishing me for not having words I didn't know how to use. Emily stared at him. You're blaming me for the timing of your honesty. No. I'm asking what you want me to do with it now. I don't know. Then why did you come? To tell you, I'm not coming home. You could have emailed. You said email was too easy to ignore. His face tightened. She gestured toward the notes. I brought those because I knew what you'd say. You'd say I rewrote everything. You'd tell people I left because of one joke or one bad anniversary dinner. I wanted you to see that I remember the good things. Luke picked up year 9. The ice storm, he said. Yes. You told Cal? He wrote it. Luke glanced at me. I had a sleeping bag. I heard. I sat there all night. I know, Luke. Then how can you stand there and say I never showed up for you? I didn't say never. You say always and never without using the words. That's your trick. Emily folded her hands. He was not wrong. The admission showed in her face. I should have told you when I was angry instead of saving it, she said. Luke waited. I should have stopped making you guess and then treating the wrong guess like proof, she continued. I should have defended Dad. I should have told Ben before the dinner. I should have left 7 years ago instead of spending 7 years punishing you for talking me out of it. Luke sat in the chair opposite her. Then don't leave now. She closed her eyes. He leaned forward. If you can see what you did, and I can see what I did, why is the answer to quit? Because seeing it doesn't make me want to stay. Luke's face emptied. Emily's voice trembled. I am sorry. I know that's a terrible answer. It isn't an answer. It's a feeling, yes. Feelings change. So do people. I'm trying to change. You're trying to stop me from leaving. I don't know what you'll do after I stay. Give me a chance to show you. I gave you chances, not like this. No. Before there were consequences. Luke stood again. I'll go to counseling. I'm not going. You begged me to go. 2 years ago. So, this is revenge? No. You wanted something, I said no, and now that I'm saying yes, you're withholding it. I don't want counseling to save the marriage. It could help us understand what happened. I understand what happened. Then explain it. She looked at the 18 notes between them. I disappeared, she said, and you liked me better that way. Luke recoiled. That's cruel. Yes. You think I wanted some empty person who agreed with me? I think you wanted me visible when I was useful and quiet when I wasn't. I loved you. I know. Stop saying that like it's finished. Emily stood. It is finished. Luke turned to me. I raised one hand. Don't. You heard her. I did. Tell her. No, tell her people say things when they're hurt. Luke, you did it before. You knew she was making a mistake. I didn't know anything. I was afraid. Of what? Of her ending up alone like me. Emily looked at me. Luke's voice sharpened. And is that what you want now? Your daughter alone in an apartment with a broken closet? The closet is fixed, Emily said. He stared at her. Of course it is. I fixed it. With him standing there. Yes. That's what help looks like. No, Emily, that's what you've decided help looks like this week. I got to my feet. She said no, I told him, to counseling, to coming home. She asked for you because she wanted you to say something. Emily looked away. Luke saw it. There, he said. She wants your approval. Give her the truth. You want my approval too. I want you to be consistent. Consistent with what? The man who believes marriage matters. Marriage matters. Then why are you helping her end one? I'm not. You drove her here. You sat outside. You'll take her back to that apartment and fix whatever breaks next. Probably. And that isn't helping her leave? I looked at Emily. She was waiting for me to tell Luke why she was right. Luke was waiting for me to tell Emily why he was worth another chance. Both of them had placed me in the same chair and called it loyalty. You asked me to stay, I said to her. You didn't ask me to decide. I'm asking now. No. Pain crossed her face. Luke laughed softly. That's Cal. He'll stand beside any decision as long as he doesn't have to make one. I made one when I came inside. What? I'm not going to turn her no into a negotiation. That's choosing her. That's listening to her. Emily picked up her purse. Luke stepped between her and the doorway, not blocking it exactly, but close enough that she stopped. What about listening to me? I have listened, I said. Then say what you heard. You love her. You're scared. You're sorry now. You think those facts should change her answer? Shouldn't they? They might change how she remembers you. They don't have to change where she sleeps. Luke looked at Emily. Is this really what you want? She nodded. Say it without him. I want the separation. Temporary? I don't know what word will make you stop asking. The true one. I'm not coming back. He stepped aside. Emily reached the door, then turned toward the coffee table. For a second, I thought she would retrieve the box. Instead, she looked at the notes. You keep saying I'm erasing everything, she told Luke. Take whatever memories you want. I don't need them to prove I loved you. They're yours. They're ours. The sentence hit him harder than anything else she had said. She left. I followed her to the car. Neither of us spoke until I had driven 2 blocks. You didn't take the box, I said. I know. Do you want me to go back? No. It was made for you. He thought it was evidence. So did you. I was wrong. She rested her forehead against the cold passenger window. After a while, she said, I wanted you to tell me I was right. I know. I wanted you to say he hasn't changed. I don't know whether he has. He hasn't. Then you don't need me to say it. That isn't the point. What's the point? I wanted somebody else to be responsible for believing me. Streetlights passed over her face. I believe you're unhappy, I said. I believe you tried. I also believe he loves you. She wiped beneath one eye. You always have to keep a hand on both sides. Not tonight. What side are you on? Yours. She turned toward me. Not because you're right about everything, I said. Because you're my daughter, and you said you're leaving. That sounds simple. It isn't. My phone rang through the car speakers. Luke, I declined it. It rang again. Emily reached toward the dashboard, then stopped herself. On the 3rd call, I answered. Luke's breathing filled the car. She left the box, he said. I know. What am I supposed to do with it? I looked at Emily. That, I said, is up to you. Luke was silent. Then he said, You always have an answer when the answer is no. I've spent a long time avoiding that word. You're making up for it fast. He disconnected. Emily watched the road ahead. You could have told him to keep it safe. He asked what to do with it. You knew what he meant. I'm trying to stop knowing what everybody means. That sounds exhausting. It is. We reached her apartment. She held the car door open but didn't get out. I shouldn't have left the box. I can go back. No, you can ask him to bring it. No, you could ask Alicia. Dad, I'm listing options. I know. Stop. I put the car in park. She looked up at the lighted windows of her building. Somebody on the 3rd floor had blue curtains and a lamp that made the fabric glow like an aquarium. I thought if I left the memories with him, he'd understand I wasn't taking our whole life and calling it mine. He may. He won't. Then why did you do it? Because I wanted to be fair. That sounds familiar. She gave me a tired look. I hate it when you learn things. I do it slowly. You'll have time to adjust. Emily got out. Before she closed the door, she said, I'm sending him an email tomorrow. I'm going to tell him the separation isn't a test and I'm not coming back. Do you want me to read it? No? Good. That was too quick. I'm practicing. She shut the door. Luke stopped calling me for 11 days. At first, the silence felt like relief. Then it began to feel pointed. I had spent 18 years hearing his name on my phone at least twice a week. Sometimes he needed a ladder. Sometimes Emily was upset, and he wanted to know whether she had told me why. Once he called because he was attempting to roast a chicken and couldn't decide which end went toward the back of the oven. I did not miss being used. I missed being included. The distinction was inconvenient. I started having breakfast with Ben on Thursdays. He chose a diner near his office where the waitress called everyone sweetheart and refilled coffee before we could object. The first week, we talked about the weather. The second week, we talked about his work supplying equipment to restaurants and how every chef believed his emergency was the only emergency in the city. The third week, he arrived carrying a canvas grocery bag. He dropped it beside my chair. I am never doing this again. What is it? Things Emily apparently can't survive without. Inside were 2 scarves, a phone charger, a paperback cookbook, an unopened bottle of vitamins, and the green ceramic mug with the chipped handle. I held up the mug. Luke fought her for this. He told me she accidentally left it. He said his sister gave it to him. Ben sat across from me. His sister did give it to him. Then why is he sending it? Because she touched it. The waitress came over with coffee. She looked into the bag. Breakup? She asked. Family, Ben said. Worse, she replied, and moved on. Why did you take it? I asked. Luke said there was medication in the bag. I held up the vitamins. Those are not medication, they're iron. Emily stopped taking these last year. They upset her stomach. I didn't inspect the bag in his driveway. You could have. Ben looked at me. I know that now. Did he ask you to bring it to me? He asked me to take it to her apartment. I told him I didn't know the address. You do know. I told him I didn't. I put the mug back in the bag. Lying wasn't necessary. It was satisfying. Fair. Ben reached for the sugar dispenser and poured too much into his coffee. He wants me to arrange a dinner. With Emily? At Bellini's. Same room if he can get it. My stomach tightened. He says Friday went wrong because there were too many people and everybody was emotional. He wants a second version, just them. Then he should ask her. He did. She said no. So, he asked you. He asked Alicia first. She told him to leave her alone. Then he called Steve and said Alicia had poisoned Emily against him. Steve hung up. Progress. He says everybody is freezing him out because you set the example. I haven't spoken to most of those people. Facts are not helping him. Our food arrived. Ben had eggs and hash browns. I had ordered beef with broccoli out of habit, forgetting diners did not serve Chinese food. Actually, I had ordered a Denver omelet and stared at it without recognizing my decision. Ben glanced at my plate. You all right? I'm trying new things. You've eaten eggs before, not in Denver. He pushed the canvas bag across the floor with his foot. I called Emily before I brought that here. How did it go? She said I could come by after work. You know the address now? Yes. And you're taking the bag to her? Yes. So why did you bring it in here? I wanted you to see the mug. I nodded. Ben cut into his hash browns. Luke doesn't want a friend, he said. He wants somebody standing nearby who can confirm he's being reasonable. That's a hard thing to stop wanting. Do you still feel sorry for him? Yes. Me too. We ate for a while. Then Ben said, he told me you're doing this because of Mom. Doing what? Helping Emily leave. He says you never got over the divorce, and this is your chance to prove everybody should have chosen you. Who did he say that to? Me, Doreen, Phil. Probably the mailman. He doesn't know the mailman. You would focus on that. The accusation bothered me more than I wanted Ben to see. Not because I believed it, but because there was enough shape to it for other people to believe. I had warned Emily against divorce because of my own loneliness. Now, I was standing beside her while she chose what Janet had chosen. From far enough away, guilt could look like revenge. What did you tell him? I asked. That you're not strategic enough. Thank you. I said, if you were trying to get revenge, you'd probably change his oil and forget to tighten something. I would never do that. Exactly. That evening, Emily came to my house with the canvas bag. Ben arrived 10 minutes later carrying a pizza. Neither of them told me they were coming. You left with the bag, I said to Emily. I know how objects work. I'm noting chronology. Ben put the pizza on the kitchen table. She wanted to give you the mug. I do not want the mug. Nobody wants the mug, Emily said. That's what makes it powerful. She placed it beside my sink. We ate in the kitchen. For the first 15 minutes, Ben and Emily spoke only through me. Tell Ben there are mushrooms on his side. I can see mushrooms, Ben said. Tell Emily this pizza was her choice. She's sitting across from you. Dad, tell him I said he could pick. You said anything was fine. That means I didn't want mushrooms. Ben looked at me. Do you see what I grew up with? I was there. Eventually, Emily put down her slice. I'm sorry I didn't call you before the dinner, she said. Ben wiped his hands on a napkin. Okay, that's all. What do you want? I don't know. Do you want me to say it was fine? No. Then okay is what I have. She nodded. Ben looked at her. I'm sorry I let Luke turn me into a courier. You weren't only a courier, you were his friend. I'm still his friend. I know. He's not lying about everything, Em. I know. You did shut him out. I know. You hurt him. I know. Ben frowned. Could you argue once? It would feel more normal. Emily picked up the green mug and held it toward him. Take this home. I take it back. They both laughed. It wasn't reconciliation. The air remained full of things they had not forgiven. But when Ben left, Emily hugged him at the door. He looked startled. then put one arm around her and patted her back twice. "You're terrible at that," she said. "I was told I'm capable." After they left, I washed the plates. The green mug remained by the sink. Janet called while I was drying it. "Doreen phoned me," she said. "I'm sorry." She asked whether Emily has always been unstable. "What did you say?" I asked whether she has always been unbearable. "Has she?" "Apparently." It was a short conversation. I put the mug in the cabinet. "Luke's telling people I encouraged Emily to leave because I'm bitter about our divorce." Janet was silent, then laughed so hard she coughed. "I'm glad you're enjoying it. Cal, you were bitter about our divorce. You expressed it by regrouting the bathroom. The old grout was failing. You did it at 2 a.m. That doesn't mean I'm trying to destroy their marriage. No. If you wanted to destroy something, you'd need to admit you were angry first." Doreen may not appreciate that nuance. Doreen believes emotional nuance is a sauce. What should I do? About people talking? Nothing. That sounds like advice I would give. Yes, but my version means don't chase them. Your version means pretend it doesn't hurt. It hurts. Good. Good? You said it without me using dental equipment. Luke came to my house the following evening. I had just finished dinner and was wiping the kitchen counter when the doorbell rang. Through the glass, I saw him holding the maple box. I opened the door but did not invite him in. He held the box out. She said it was hers. "You made it. I'm returning it. I took it. The weight was wrong." I slid the lid back. The box was empty. "You took all the notes." She told me to take whatever memories I wanted. She didn't mean all of them. Did she tell you that? No. Then don't explain her. He had me there. I looked at the empty box. A faint pencil mark remained inside, where year 1 had rested. "What are you going to do with them? Keep them? Why return the box?" "Because it isn't mine." Neither of us moved. Finally, Luke said, "I have a reservation at Bellini's next Friday. Cancel it." "No." She already said no. She said no through Ben. She said it to you in this house, not to dinner. What do you think dinner will change? Nothing, if she's right. That isn't an answer. He looked past me into the kitchen. The green mug was visible in the open cabinet. "You got the delivery. Ben brought it. And then he took it to Emily. She brought the mug here." Luke smiled sadly. "Of course she did." "Why do you want the dinner? To apologize without an audience." "You can write an apology." "I have. Then send it." "She won't believe I mean it. And a restaurant will prove it. It's where I asked her to marry me." "I know. I want 1 hour in the place where she said yes." The request had the shape of romance and the weight of a trap. "She said no now," I told him. Luke's mouth tightened. "I'm not asking you to trick her. Tell her I'll be there. If she doesn't come, I'll understand." "No, you won't. You don't know that. I know you've asked Alicia, Steve, Ben, and me to arrange a conversation she already refused. I'm fighting for my wife. You're recruiting." His face went still. "I thought you of all people would understand what it means to lose somebody because you didn't fight." I gripped the empty box. "I do understand. Then help me." "No." Luke stepped closer. "Why are you so willing to let me suffer the same regret you've carried for 12 years? Because my regret belongs to me. It doesn't give me the right to hand Emily back to you. I'm not asking for her back." "Yes, you are." He looked at the box between us. Then he said, "If you won't help me save my marriage, at least have the courage to tell me why you're helping end it." "I'm not helping end it." Luke looked at the box in my hands. "You're driving the getaway car. I'm refusing to lock the door." That sounds like something Janet would say. She might. "Did she help you come up with all this?" "No. But you've been talking to her. She's the mother of my children. She's also the woman who left you." "Yes. And now you're taking marriage advice from her." "I'm not taking marriage advice. What would you call it? Finally listening." Luke laughed. It came out rough. "You want honesty?" he said. "I think you're enjoying this." I felt the accusation settle into the places where it could do damage. "You think I enjoy seeing Emily hurt? I think you enjoy being the one she chooses. For 18 years, she chose me. Now she calls you when the sink drips. She asks you to wait outside. You get to be the safe man without doing any of the hard parts. You think being her husband entitles you to all the hard parts? I think being her husband means I know her better than you. You probably do." That answer threw him. I stepped back from the doorway. "Come inside. It's cold." He entered without thanking me. The kitchen was still clean from dinner. Luke saw the green mug in the cabinet and stared at it for a second before I closed the door. I placed the empty maple box on the table. He sat across from it. "You asked why I'm helping end your marriage," I said. "I'm not. But I helped keep it going when I shouldn't have. You drove her home one time. I drove her home without asking why she left. I called you and told you how to handle her. Then I spent 7 years congratulating myself because the two of you stayed together. We were happy during those years. Sometimes. A lot of the time. I believe you. Then stop talking like it was a prison. I didn't call it that. She did. She said she couldn't breathe. She says things like that. You know she does. Yes. And we both learned to translate her into something easier." Luke pushed his chair back. "I didn't make her stay. Neither did I. Good. We made leaving feel like a failure." He looked at me. "I told her loneliness was worse than anger," I continued. "I told her divorce would ruin holidays. I didn't say, stay because Luke loves you. I said, stay because leaving will make everybody's life harder. That's not what I said to her. You told her Portland was expensive and disruptive. It was. You were afraid, yes. But you gave her costs instead of the truth because costs sound more reasonable than fear. So did you, apparently. Yes." The word sat between us. Luke folded his arms. "Are you trying to apologize to me?" "No." "Then what is this?" "I'm telling you, I helped teach Emily that a peaceful room was more important than what happened inside it. That's dramatic. It's also true. You weren't in our house. I was in it every time one of you called and asked me to settle something. I praised her for being reasonable. I praised you for being steady. Usually that meant whichever one sounded calmer got to define what happened. And now you've decided she gets to define everything. No, she gets to define whether she stays. What about me? You get to decide who you are after she leaves. That's your wisdom? It's all I have." Luke stood and walked to the sink. He opened the cabinet, took out the green mug, and turned it in his hands. "My sister gave me this after our first apartment," he said. "Emily hated it. She took it when she moved. I know. You stopped her. I didn't want her choosing which pieces of our life were hers while I stood there. So you kept the mug, and then I gave it back. You sent it through Ben. I didn't know where she lived. You knew how to email her. She wasn't answering. That's not a reason to use Ben." He put the mug down too hard. The chipped handle struck the counter. "You all keep saying use like I'm moving pieces around a board. I was trying to get her things back to her. You put vitamins in the bag and called them medication. I thought they were prescriptions. They had a grocery store label. I didn't inspect the bottle. You told Ben to hurry because she left. No, Luke, because if the bag was urgent, Ben couldn't say no." His face flushed. "She uses people too." "Yes. You keep admitting that and then doing nothing about it. What would you like me to do?" "Tell her." "I have. Tell her leaving me doesn't fix her. I told her the apartment wouldn't make her brave. Then why won't you tell her to come to dinner? Because she said no." He turned away. The back of his sweater was pilled at the shoulders. Emily had complained about that brand the previous Christmas, but Luke liked the color. She bought it anyway. "I'm going to sit at Bellini's next Friday," he said, 7 o'clock. "I'll order the wine we had the night I proposed. If she doesn't come, I'll leave. That sounds simple. It is. No, it isn't. You'll tell yourself she chose not to hear your apology. Then you'll tell Ben. You'll tell Alicia. You'll tell anybody who will listen that Emily refused one harmless dinner. What's wrong with wanting people to know I tried? Nothing, if trying isn't a debt you expect her to pay. I'm not asking her to pay anything. What happens if she comes? I apologize. And then we talk about what? Us. She said there is no us. People say things. You keep turning her words into weather." He stared at me. I heard Emily's voice in my own sentence and almost smiled. It was not the right moment. Luke sat again. "I will apologize for the jokes," he said, "for speaking over her, for making her feel small. I'll apologize in front of every person who was at that dinner, if that's what she needs. That isn't what she needs. How do you know? She said it. She humiliated me, Cal. I know. I have clients who won't return calls. Phil canceled lunch. Doreen is asking Janet if Emily is unstable. People think I'm some kind of monster. Emily didn't call you a monster. She stood in a room full of people and described me like one. She described what you did, from her perspective. Yes. My perspective matters. Yes. Then why won't anybody hear it? I'm hearing it. You're not enough." The words landed, and Luke looked ashamed. "I didn't mean Yes, you did. He rubbed both hands over his face. I want my life back. That's what you should have said first. I'm saying it now. Emily is not your life. She is a person who shared it. You think I don't know that? I think you know it when knowing helps. He looked up sharply. I took the chair opposite him. You said you'll apologize if she comes to dinner. What do you need from her? Nothing, Luke. He stared past me. I need her to tell people I wasn't the only problem. There it is. That's fair. It may be. But it has nothing to do with whether she returns. I want her to stop humiliating me. She hasn't spoken about you publicly since Bellini's. She told Ben about Portland. Ben is her brother. She told you. I'm her father. She told Alicia. Alicia is her friend. How many private conversations does it take before my marriage becomes public property? About as many as you had when you called all of us to bring her back. He flinched. I continued before I could retreat. Your apology has an invoice attached. You'll admit you hurt her if she admits she hurt you. You'll stop speaking for her if she speaks the words you choose. You'll respect her no after she sits through one more dinner and proves she listened. That isn't what I'm doing. It is. You have no right to judge me. I'm not judging you. What would you call this? Refusing. He looked down at the empty box. Refusing what? To be useful in the way you want. The kitchen clock clicked forward 1 minute. Luke's voice went low. You helped build this family. I helped build the pattern that kept everybody quiet. So now you tear it apart? No. Now I stop holding it together with the person who hurts most. He swallowed. Do you think she'll ever forgive me? Yes. Hope rose in his face so quickly I regretted the word. That doesn't mean she'll come back. The hope went out again. Did Janet forgive you? He asked. I think so. Did that help? Yes. How? I stopped needing her forgiveness to reverse her decision. Luke stood. He carried the green mug to the table and placed it inside the empty box. It fit at an angle, the chipped handle resting against one corner. Give her that, he said. No. His hand remained on the box. It belongs to her. You said your sister gave it to you. It's a mug. Then take it with you. He looked angry enough to throw it. Instead, he lifted the mug out and put it back in the cabinet. At the door, he turned. You know what the worst part is? I actually liked you. I like you too. Don't. It's true. You're choosing her. Yes. He waited, perhaps expecting me to soften it. I didn't. I'm choosing her, I repeated. Not because she's right about everything. Not because you're evil. Because she said no, and I won't help you turn it into a question. Luke opened the door. If she changes her mind, will you tell me? If she wants you to know, she will. He left. The reservation stayed on my mind all week. Luke did not call again, but Ben did. He told me you threatened him. With what? He couldn't explain that part. I refused to deliver the dinner invitation. I know. He asked me next. What did you say? I said I wasn't doing it. How did that feel? Awful. Good. Mom's rubbing off on you. Ben paused. He's really alone, Dad. I know. I'm having lunch with him Saturday. That sounds kind. He thinks I'm choosing him. You can correct him. I did. He didn't like it. That doesn't make it less true. Emily came over Thursday with groceries and cooked dinner in my kitchen. She did not ask why. I did not ask what needed fixing. After we ate, I put the empty maple box on the table. She opened it and stared inside. He took all of them. You told him to take what he wanted. I didn't think he'd take everything. He thought you were giving them to him. Do you believe that? Yes. She closed the lid. I told her about the reservation, not persuasively, not gently. I gave her the time, the place, and exactly what Luke had asked me to do. He wants me to prove I heard him, she said. Yes. Are you telling me to go? No. Are you telling me not to? No. She studied my face. Do you think I owe him one more conversation? No. Do you think I was cruel? Yes. Do you think he loves me? Yes. Her eyes filled. Do you think I should go back? That is not mine. She nodded once. Then she took out her phone. I'm going to call him. Do you want me to leave? Emily looked at the empty box between us. No, she said. Stay. She dialed Luke's number and set the phone on the table. He answered before the first ring finished. Emily? She put her hand flat beside the box. Yes, she said. It's me. I was hoping you'd call, Luke said. I know. Her voice was so quiet I leaned closer without meaning to. Did your father tell you about Friday? Yes. Did he tell you what I said? He told me you want to apologize. I do. You can apologize now. Luke hesitated. I'd rather do it in person. I'm not coming to Bellini's. The refrigerator hummed behind us. Why not? Because I said no. To dinner. To another conversation about whether I'm coming home. That isn't what I said the dinner was. It's what you want from it. You don't know what I want. I do, Luke. I spent 18 years knowing what you wanted before you said it. I helped make that normal. His breathing changed. Is Cal there? Emily looked at me. Yes. Put me on speaker. You already are. Luke went quiet. I kept my hands on my knees. So, this is another family meeting, he said. No. Dad isn't speaking. Then why is he there? Because I asked him to stay. The words moved through me more sharply than they had in the restaurant hallway. Luke said, You can't talk to me without him now? I can. I don't want to. That's supposed to make me feel better? No. Is he telling you not to come? He told me the time, the place, and what you asked. That's all? I don't believe that. That isn't his problem. Luke was silent long enough that Emily checked the screen to make sure the call had not ended. I'm sorry about the anniversary dinner, she said. He released a breath. I'm sorry I announced it in front of your friends and clients. I knew you would talk over me if we were alone, but I also knew a room full of people would make you behave. I used your pride against you. You humiliated me. Yes. You made people think I'm abusive. I described what our marriage felt like to me, in public. Yes. Do you understand what that did? I'm trying to. Phil won't even have lunch with me. You can call Phil. I have. Then his choice is between you and Phil. You started it. I know. Luke's voice broke. You keep saying you know like that fixes something. It doesn't. Then what do you want from me? For the next few months, I want practical things in email. I want you to stop calling Dad, Ben, Alicia, or anybody else to get a message to me. If you need support, call them for support. Don't make support mean convincing me. We're not discussing a cable bill, Emily. This is our marriage. I know. You can't manage it through email. I'm not managing the marriage. I'm ending it. There was no anger in the sentence. That made it final in a way the anniversary announcement had not been. Luke heard it too. You said separation. I was afraid to say more, so you lied. I hoped space might make me uncertain. Did it? No. Emily's hand trembled beside the empty box. I placed my hand near hers, but did not touch it. Luke said, You owe me one dinner. She closed her eyes. I don't. 18 years, and you can't give me an hour? I gave you 18 years. That doesn't make the 19th yours. You think that sounds clever? No, it sounds awful. Then come. No, let me apologize. You just heard mine. That was an explanation. It was both. I can change. I hope you do. For who? For yourself. He laughed bitterly. That's what people say when they want to leave feeling noble. Maybe. You don't believe in me. I believe you mean everything you're saying right now. Then why isn't that enough? Emily looked at the box. Because you mean it now that I've left. I don't know what you'd mean after I came back. Give me a chance to show you. I'm not coming back to test whether leaving worked. His breathing filled the speaker again. Then he said, I kept the notes. I know. Did Cal tell you I took all of them? Yes. You said I could. I did. I read them every night. Emily covered her mouth with one hand. I looked toward the dark window over the sink. Our reflections sat beside each other at the table, small and trapped in the glass. I'm glad you have them, she said. They're proof we were happy. They're proof we had happy moments. What's the difference? A marriage has to live between the moments. Luke began crying. He tried to hide it by clearing his throat, but there are sounds a family learns too well to mistake. Emily's own tears spilled over. She did not reach for the phone. I don't know who I am without you, he said. That isn't a reason for me to stay. I know. It was the first time he said it without turning the words into a weapon. Emily waited. Are you really not coming Friday? He asked. No. What am I supposed to do with the reservation? Cancel it. Go alone. Take somebody else. I'm not deciding that for you. Another silence. "I'm sorry about the box," he said. "Which part? The jokes, reading the notes, the museum comment? Thank you. I knew you were leaving," Emily frowned. "Before dinner? I knew something was wrong. You wouldn't let me read your phone. I never let you read my phone. You changed the code. Because you answered a message from my supervisor, pretending to be me. It was a joke. No, it wasn't." "You're right." She looked at me, startled. Luke continued, "I saw the box and your dad sitting there, and I thought maybe everybody knew something I didn't. So I made him small before he could make me small. I felt no triumph hearing it. Only fatigue." "I didn't know," I said. "I know that now," Luke replied. Emily wiped her face. "I'm going to hang up," she said. "Wait, what?" I love you too." Hope inhaled on the other end of the call. Emily did not let it speak for her. "I'm still leaving." Luke made a sound between a sob and a laugh. "Of course you are. Yes, goodbye, Em." "Goodbye, Luke." She ended the call. For a long time, neither of us moved. Then Emily folded forward until her forehead rested on her arms. I sat beside her without touching the phone, the box, or her. When she reached for my hand, I gave it to her. "Did I do the right thing?" she asked. "I don't know." She laughed into her sleeve. "You've become very committed to being useless. I'm expanding my range." She squeezed my hand. We stayed at the table until the kitchen went cold. Luke kept the reservation. Ben told me later that he went to Bellini's alone and sat at a table in the main dining room, not the Verona room. He ordered dinner, left before dessert, and did not ask anybody to report the story to Emily. That was the first consequence he accepted, without trying to make it a performance. The separation did not become clean just because everybody started using the right words. Luke sent long emails. Emily answered only the practical parts, which he called cold. She sometimes read his messages 3 times and called me wanting help, deciding what a sentence meant. I told her I wasn't qualified to translate Luke anymore. She accused me of abandoning her. 2 hours later, she called back and said I was right. Ben kept having lunch with Luke. He also kept Thursday breakfast with me and began seeing Emily without asking either of us whether the other approved. One afternoon, the 3 of us met at my garage to move a workbench. Emily arrived with her own drill. "That's not the right bit," I told her. She held it up. "You said you weren't carrying me. I can still prevent property damage." Ben leaned against the garage door. "This is how he says he loves us." "I've said the words," I protested. "Under extreme pressure," Emily said. We moved the bench. Janet came for dinner the following month. The 4 of us ate at my kitchen table because none of us was willing to pretend the old Sunday dinners still existed. Luke's absence had weight. So did the ease of not watching Emily check his face before she spoke. Both things were true. Janet found the green mug in my cabinet. "You still have this hideous thing?" It came to me through a complicated chain of custody. She drank from it all evening. The divorce proceeded without a courtroom battle or a grand surrender. It was mostly signatures, scheduled conversations, and arguments over ordinary objects that had absorbed extraordinary meaning. Emily let Luke keep the house. Luke let her keep the record player. They spent 3 days disagreeing about a framed print neither wanted because admitting that seemed sadder than fighting. Calm did not return to the family. Something more useful replaced it. People began saying when they were angry. Ben told Emily that her public announcement had hurt him. She apologized without explaining why she had needed to do it. Emily told Janet that calling her composed when she was in pain felt like praise for hiding. Janet listened, then admitted she had taught both of us that dignity meant keeping the neighbors comfortable. I told Ben I was sorry I had treated his strength as a reason not to show up. He said, "You're here now." I started to thank him. He added, "Don't make it sentimental." Luke and I did not speak for several months. Then I saw him in the hardware store, holding 2 different faucet washers and looking irritated at both. "You need the beveled one," I said. He looked at me. "I know," he replied. He was holding the flat one. I pointed. He sighed and exchanged it. At the register, he said, "I'm not asking about her." "I know. I'm doing better. I'm glad." He nodded once and left. I did not call Emily to report it. The 18 notes arrived at her apartment after the divorce was final. Luke placed them in a plain envelope and mailed them directly to her. There was no letter, only the memories in order from year 1 to year 18. Emily called me when she opened them. "What do I do with these?" she asked. "Whatever you want. I knew you'd say that." She put them back in the maple box. On the anniversary of the Bellini's dinner, Emily asked me to meet her at the restaurant. We sat in a booth in the main room. No banner, no slideshow, no 12 people watching us perform happiness. Emily wore a blue sweater and her hair loose over her shoulders. "You know this is a strange place to invite me," I said. "I wanted a better memory here." Dangerous thing to say to a man who owns note cards. The maple box sat beside her. After dinner, she slid it across the table. Inside were the 18 old notes and one new one, year 19. I unfolded it. "You put your coat back on and returned to the room. That isn't an anniversary memory," I said. "It is for me." I read it again. "I'm sorry it took me so many years to understand what you were asking." What was I asking? Not to save you, not to choose your decision, just to stay while you made it. Emily reached across the table and straightened the paper beneath my hand. "You came back," she said. The waiter appeared with 2 coffee cups and asked whether we needed anything else. Emily looked at me. I looked at my coat folded beside me in the booth. "Not yet," I said.